It is 6 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. Something happened last night that had not happened since 2001.
1 second. It's over. They did it. They did it. The job is done. The Colorado Avalanche are Stanley Cup champions. And they will lift Lord Stanley a mile high.
The Avs defeated the Lightning 2-1 in Tampa Bay to capture the Cup. It is the third title in franchise history. Cole Makar won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. Ole Miss scored twice on wild pitches in a 3-run eighth inning as the Rebels won their first national baseball title, sweeping Oklahoma in the Men's College World Series Finals, a 4-2 victory on Sunday. And Chase Elliott won the Ally 400 at Nashville Superspeedway. The race was delayed twice due to weather. For Elliott, it is his second victory of the season. For all foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Welcome in. It's J Mart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Lifted up by All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville, allfourseasonsgarages.com. Go there to learn more. Jonathan Schaefer is here. Ramon Foster, guess what? Nope.
The loafer.
Yeah, that's right.
Rat Moan is in here this morning.
That's right. J Mart and Rhett Moan. Back in the saddle.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. 615-737-1045. You can talk about whatever you want to. We're doing that very early, huh? All right.
Hey, buddy. Wait, this is going into 4th of July weekend. This week is going to be full tilt boogie, man.
Yeah, this week's going to be – we're going to be all over the map this week.
Yep, pretty much.
So Rhett Bryan, Titans Radio, of course, is in for a couple days. We're going to have Kayla Anderson for a couple days. Next week, it's going to be me and Jeff Jarrett and Kayla Anderson one day.
Wow.
Which is going to be an intriguing day.
Moan's actually back this Friday just to go back on vacation.
I don't really understand that. Like, why
it.
not just take the Friday off too, big guy?
I don't know.
Like, he's coming back on Friday, but then he's off on the 4th, of course, and then he's off on the 5th, and then he's back on the 6th.
Yeah, I think I would have put.
Just go ahead and knock that
Take that one obstacle out of the road and have 10 miles of.
It's like we're going to be happy, and then on Friday we're going to be sad.
This is what's going to happen. About Wednesday this week, we're going to be told, yeah, Ramon decided he's going to take Friday off too.
I think I would.
I could see it.
I would agree with Shafe on that.
Happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's going to realize what he's doing is dumb.
I could see it. I'm definitely blinded by the light on that one. So the Avs won the cup. Good for them.
Did you say that was the first time since 2001?
Yeah, that was Patrick. That was the Patrick Waugh.
Did you say that was the first time since 2001?
That's
though?
a Joe Sakic team.
It's been 21 years since they won a cup. Wow.
Yeah. Those were the Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg teams, I believe.
Yeah, actually, what was on TV yesterday was a 30 for 30 talking about that Red Wings-Avs rivalry from the late 90s, early 2000s. That was
awesome.
And even if you weren't a hockey fan, that rivalry was wild. That was
Carson
wild.
Wentz won the Stanley Cup, so good for him.
Hey.
Wow.
He's not going to win a Super Bowl, so he might as well win a Stanley Cup.
So much
and it's great that they wrapped up the Ally 400 at Nashville Superspeedway right before you did your update.
No, about 10 minutes. About 10 minutes ago, that thing went checkered.
Chase Elliott. Did you happen to see I understand we're going to have Teresa Walker of the Associated Press in the final hour. Did you happen to see the quotes that she had from Chase Elliott?
I did not.
He said in Victory Lane, he said, while this is great and I got nothing against this track, I would prefer this race be at the Nashville Fairgrounds.
Well, and that makes sense considering he's the son of Bill Elliott, who raced at the Nashville Fairgrounds back in the 80s. And there's been a very big push for that. And
That's why Dale Jr. has been such a big push behind that whole thing.
It's eventually going to get done, and I think there's a very possible scenario within the next 5 to 10 years you see 2 NASCAR Cup races in this town, one at the Super Speedway and one at the fairgrounds.
Well, here's the thing.
How big is the track at the fairgrounds?
5/8 of a mile.
That's the thing. Okay. It's a small track.
Yeah, it's a small deal, kind of like a Bristol deal.
But NASCAR,
I'm from Martinsville, and that was, what is that, the shortest track or the smallest track or one of them?
I think
it's a half mile, isn't it?
Right. But the thing is that NASCAR has moved more toward shorter tracks and road courses moving forward in terms of their schedule. So you've got Bruton Smith, who unfortunately passed away last week, but that SMI community in terms of developing in the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, I think it's going to get done. I think it's going to happen. You've got a lot of push behind the scenes to make that happen.
Why do you think they're moving to smaller tracks?
I think because the racing action's better.
It was the essence of the sport back in its early heyday, too.
I think it's actually embracing a little bit of its heritage.
And, the thing about this race, this whole weekend, Shafe and I were talking about this before the show started, that you can kind of see, like every sport has ebbs and flows, and NASCAR's had its share going to bigger tracks and going out of their original footprint of the Southeast. You can see NASCAR kind of going in a trajectory upward now. Just thinking about who all's there. Now, obviously, with Bubba Wallace and his race team being owned by Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan was at the track this weekend. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. But, Chig Okonkwo, the rookie tight end from Maryland for the Titans, was there. Derrick Henry, Big Jeff. O.J. Howard was with Derrick. There was, Alvin Kamara was there, who's a big NASCAR guy. And so, you're starting to see some dignitaries, some sports notables, and I think, good traffic out there all weekend. But what they faced yesterday was the one thing they can't get their hands around, and nobody else can either. It's the weather. They basically had Titans and Dolphins week 1, 2018 yesterday.
But no weather plan for MRN.
That's correct. But what's weird is I went to dinner with Mike Keith last night, and we were actually discussing, we were going over the weather plan. We revise it and look at it it's like, we have long form pieces that are, pre-canned, ready to go in case it's a super long delay. But we were just reviewing that and kind of talking about stuff for the season and just catching up in general. But while they were under the lightning caution, it's like we were actually discussing some of the weather plan, just trying to make sure we got all of our ducks in a row.
Well, you've already proven you know how to handle that situation, so that's positive. Shafe, I'm going to ask you this, and Red, obviously you too. Where is NASCAR right now? Like, there was a time, even in the last 10 years, where it felt like it was really on a massive upswing. Like, I started paying a lot more attention on weekends the way I did when I was a kid. You live in Martinsville, stock car racing.
Oh,
you have to.
You better.
You have to.
Yeah.
My brother loved it. I watched it. I've always kind of, I don't have any problem sitting down and putting a race on. I don't. It can become background noise the same way a baseball game can. And I still believe that the radio crew for MRN and PRN are some of the most talented broadcasters anywhere in the world.
Oh, they're fantastic.
The way they move from turn to turn.
The whips around the track with the spotters, going back up to the guys calling the race.
I love listening to a race.
No, it's fascinating.
But where are we right now with NASCAR?
With NASCAR, the sport, its real boom days were in the late 2000s and then the early part of the 2010s.
Was that like when Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards?
Right. And a lot of it, actually, the popularity really started to peak when Dale Jr. was in there as well. It was after the death of Dale Earnhardt Sr. And you hate to make that a demarcation point, but it really was. And then the sport really took off in terms of popularity and also revenue late 2000s, early 2010s. But then you had a lot of overexpansion. And actually the track out there in Wilson County was one of the tracks that was guilty of overexpansion.
So we're talking about like California and Vegas, Chicago, and stuff like that.
Yeah, Chicago.
Non-NASCAR markets.
Yes, non-traditional markets. So there was a big expansion. And what happened is this sport expanded too quickly and really lost focus on what it is. And now what you've started to see is a very slow ascendancy to where racing's definitely a sport in this country where it ebbs and flows in popularity. There will be times where it's very popular for a period of time, and then it kind of goes back down again. And I think you're starting to see it slowly start to, have a little bit of a peak and have a little bit more growth in it. And NASCAR's had to do a lot of things because really 3, 4, 5 years ago, this sport was dead. It really was. People were not going to the races anymore. And what's also helped is across the board, the Formula One stuff has helped everybody in terms of racing popularity.
Yes.
The documentary on Netflix with Formula One. Formula One's getting a new TV deal. This is the best numbers they've ever had in this country.
And by the way, those boys are getting paid
and they are
to drive.
Getting paid. You saw,
and look, that's the comparison for Live Golf.
Yeah,
a lot of people believe Live is being designed to be F1 for golf.
I think it's a little bit different circumstances.
Yeah, there's one big difference between them.
Beyond that, beyond the political aspect of it, it's just Formula One has been around. Live wants to have.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Live wants to have that prestige. They want to have that look to them that Formula One has. You saw the Indy 500 crowd this year. That place was sold out. We haven't seen Indy 500 like that in several years.
And that is a big track.
I mean, that's a place that can have 250 to 300,000 people there.
It's big enough. It has a hospital and a 9-hole golf course in the infield.
It does.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's basically the second or third biggest city in Indiana when they have the event. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, it's back, baby, or anything like that. No, you're seeing racing starting to go through another one of those cycles where it's starting to become kind of cool and kind of popular again, just at a much slower
It's
level.
interesting you mentioned F1 just because Brandon Hagney, man that held your job before you were here and now out in New Mexico, he's become a giant F1 fan. He told me that randomly in a text chain.
See him tweet about it.
Ago.
I see him tweet about it.
He's just like, I really like F1. He's like, have you watched it? I'm like, no, but I'm intrigued.
Here's the thing.
What do you want from me, man?
The TV.
I've got a 14-month-old daughter. It's lucky I see anything.
The TV broadcast of Formula One is exhilarating. It's phenomenal the way they broadcast that. Plus, you have shorter races and even timed races. Out in Monaco this year, they had to shorten the race up and keep it under a certain period of time to get the race in. It's glamorous. And F1's always been glamorous in Europe and over on that side. And now people have watched the Netflix documentary, and it's getting a younger demographic of people that aren't quote-unquote race fans are getting into what is basically a new fad for them, which is F1.
I think the thing I noticed with all the race events this weekend at the Super Speedway, and this may be a poor analogy, but I feel like some of those ebbs and flows when there's a changing of the guard of drivers, older drivers retiring, new ones coming up, it's kind of like where SNL was for a long time, where it's like, okay, these guys have graduated out of the class and they're making movies and television shows and things, and we're waiting for that other group of young, bit players to, I don't think SNL's really recovered from that. It's been a minute.
The last crop when like Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader and
that's why I say it may be a poor analogy.
No, it has been right in the past.
Yeah, it has, and multiple different occasions. And then the other thing, when you say Formula One, all I have in my head is Talladega Nights and Jean Gillard, and he said Formula One. I'm a Formula One race car driver. You made me spill my caramel macchiato, Ricky Bobby.
Seems like there's some overlap, Shafe, between AEW fans and F1 fans.
In terms of personality, I think that's a reasonable thing to suggest. Yeah.
By the way, I'm not looking at the chat today, or at least I haven't yet, but I've got Forbidden Door to watch today. I have no idea what happened last night. I saw my daughter last night. That was it. Saw a lot of Bluey over the weekend. That's where we are.
Well, CG is the show, man. That's it.
She sort of gave up the ghost yesterday on the walking. We can talk about that when we come back. 615-737-1045. She's mobile and she's opening cabinets, folks.
Oh, boy.
It's a problem.
Child-proofing now.
We will be back. We'll have Chris Plank from the Sooner Radio Network, also Fox Sports Radio. He's also a program director down there, which I did not know until yesterday. He does a whole lot of stuff.
Lots of pairs on that.
Yeah, does a lot of stuff. Obviously, Oklahoma's in the College World Series, but he's really close in the Big 12. We can talk about it, Arch with him. We can talk about Baker Mayfield with him. There's a lot we can get into with Chris Plank. And as Rhett mentioned, Teresa Walker later on in the show. But plenty of time for you at 737-1045. We'll be right back here on The Zone.
As leaders in disaster cleanup and restoration, the pros at ServPro are prepared for anything. Like when you hear a drip in your kitchen and you realize it's coming from the roof and it's from your kid's restroom. Guess what? They've been flushing the toilet time after time after time, and now you got a leak. And guess what? ServPro is prepared for that. Or when you have an electrical shortage in your office that causes extensive smoke and water damage, ServPro is prepared for that. Or a musty odor indicates you might have a mold problem. ServPro is prepared for that too. You need a lot more to help sometimes cleaning up, and that's why ServPro is your one-stop shop when disaster strikes. Not only do they have the equipment and expertise to clean up damage from fire, water, or mold, but they also offer a variety of construction services ranging from drywall patching and document drying all the way to complete structure rebuilds. There's just one call you need to make to bring your home or business back as good as new and as soon as possible. So if you're in need of cleanup from fire, water, or any unpleasant event, ServPro is always ready to help. Call ServPro and the official downtown Nashville operators at 800-ServPro to see how we can help you get back to like it never even happened. The number is 800-SERVPRO. ServPro, cleaning, restoration, construction, and franchises are independently owned and operated.
So just a couple days ago, actually, I just happened to go to Awful Announcing for the first time in a while, and like one of the top stories is about F1, about ESPN paying to keep the rights through 2025 and paying big time money. And apparently, you can't go to commercial breaks during these races or people go nuts. So they're apparently not going to be going to commercial during the races at all. There were some other bidders too. Amazon bid higher money, but they wanted rights to sublicense, and Comcast wanted to incorporate the cock in a big way, and they chose not to do that. And then Netflix made an offer, but the bid wasn't close on money.
Oh boy! So not airing breaks during the F1. That's interesting.
No commercials during the F1 race.
Wow.
I meant Peacock.
Well, yeah, I knew that. What a concept.
Did not mean Buck Rising.
I saw also last night where hello, Buck.
As he's waking up, just make sure he catches it straight at 6:25. Love you, brother.
Good morning.
Love you, brother.
I saw where Disney Plus, Amazon, and I forget who else is throwing in their bids for NFL Sunday Ticket as well.
Well,
it'd be interesting if it was like Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, I can't watch Sunday Ticket because my daughter wants to see Coco.
Yeah.
Or Moana.
Or maybe like Bluey pops up.
Bluey
as part of your coverage on Sunday Ticket. Let's go to Bluey on the sidelines. It's the same thing as Evan Washburn. What's the difference?
As long as Caillou's not there, we're good.
I mean, what's the difference between insert sideline reporter here and, I don't know, something from Disney Junior?
That's valid.
Vampirina.
Yeah, that's valid.
One of them.
That's valid.
I mean, those questions can be asked by anyone with a pulse. Most of the time. It's not that there aren't talented sideline broadcasters that are good at what they do. Usually, if you're working the sidelines, that's,
Caillou is a whiny little puke.
Yes.
Like, you couldn't replace Dawn with Bluey, but you could replace Evan Washburn with Bluey.
Yes, you could.
And we've had Evan on the show. You were about to say that, weren't you, Shafe?
What are you doing to me this segment, man?
Look, man, this is going to be a fun week.
I do not need to be janitor this week.
What, you mean cleaning up a mess?
Yes.
What mess?
What part of the last couple minutes hasn't been a mess?
I think it was talking about promotion of Peacock streaming service that sent it off the rails.
Well, then Buck and then Evan Washburn. It's just like pew pew, shots everywhere.
Yep.
So the NFL Nation reporters put together a list of off-season standouts that have been surprises, one per team. So obviously Tehran put his out there for the Titans. Just curious. I'm going to see. Have you read this or no?
I have not.
Okay. Who do you think he picked? Surprise. So not somebody you would necessarily expect, but somebody that's really kind of shown out in workouts.
Ryan Tannehill?
Boom. Surprise. He's not terrible.
I don't know who he, off the top of my head.
It would be somebody off the beaten path. It's not a name you know as well. It's a rookie. So that should limit it a little bit.
Yeah. Is it Theo Jackson?
No, it's Chig.
Chig Okonkwo. He had really nice, the OTAs that we were allowed to go see and the mini camp. You could see him making steps forward through each of those. And then by all accounts, and I wasn't there, but just seeing what I saw posted on social media, it looks like he showed out at Tight End University too.
Mm-hmm.
He has some of those measurables, that the Titans tight end core was missing after Jonnu Smith left for New England. And
is that the hope? Is he's a Jonnu type player?
Well, when you look at his size and his frame and how muscular he is, I mean, I see a frame and a body style that is like a Jonnu or like a Delaney. So, big, muscular dude. And, I think that's going to be – I think that's what they had in mind when they took him, is what they saw on film. And again, he had a game last year where he nearly broke Wycheck's single-game receiving record at Maryland. He had like a 13, 14-catch game last year.
Well, if you could get something out of him, in addition to what I think most of us believe you're going to get out of Austin Hooper, that's going to be a nice bonus. That's going to be nice to have him. And obviously, he doesn't have to step in and be a star day one, but if he's a guy that grows into that role and can be that guy along with Hooper, that helps Tannehill out tremendously.
1,000,000% it does. Especially as we get closer to training camp, that we're basically a month out. And everyone listening is reading what, those who have been in practice have reported. And there's like, I'm worried about the wide receiving corps. Yeah, I get it. There's some things that have to fall in place. I still think they'll sign a veteran receiver to go with what they've got right now. Don't know who that is.
That's Field Yates. Field Yates did that for every team. He says, what's the one thing to do before the season starts? And the Titans was sign one of these veteran guys. And it was, Beasley was in that list. Odell was in that list. A couple other guys that just feel like they're hurt all the time and things like that. But if you could find this year's Josh Reynolds that could stay healthy or be healthy for you early, then that might be, somebody like that is who you're probably looking for. Or the Adam Humphries that can stay healthy.
Yep.
Even though you're not going to pay him as much as Humphries when he came in here. On this list of surprise standouts, the 49ers guy picked Juwan Jennings, who started to emerge towards the very end of last year. And I don't think any of us are shocked that dude is outperforming what people thought of his measurable talent.
He was a 6th-round pick?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a dog, man.
Yeah.
He was actually back in town this weekend. They had a celebrity basketball tournament or a celebrity basketball game at TSU this weekend that he played in one of those teams. And, he's doesn't surprise me at all.
Jaguars have Chenault listed. That's who
LaVisca.
That's who Mike DeRocco picked. Mike Wells picked Paris Campbell. And he starts, this is not how you want to start. This is Indianapolis. He says, maybe, just maybe, 2022 is the season Campbell can stay healthy.
Yeah. Man, whenever it's prefaced with that.
It's just like, oof. It's tough to pick a guy that hasn't been able to stay on the field, especially, and then you see the talent, and it's annoying. Because it's like, boy, he could really help them if he was ever available to them.
Availability, that's right.
It is definitely a big deal. Did you see, or I guess you probably did, Tyreek Hill talking about death threats?
I didn't. I saw the original excerpt from the podcast where he said Tua all day versus Mahomes. And I had seen where he got death threats after that initial podcast. I haven't seen the wrap up, the follow up with him actually mentioning that. But
yeah, I kind of shrugged my shoulders at this, and Moan kind of did on Friday. We talked about it just a little bit because, I mean, if you play in the NFL, some people are going to be angry if you don't do everything right, first of all. And they say, who knows what they say to Tyreek Hill regularly on social media.
A lot of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Moan was undrafted, obviously, and Ben gets sacked, and some people want his head every single time.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you say stuff, we live in a country where you can say it. We also live in a country where people can not like it. And I think the biggest problem for Tyreek is the same problem A.J. Brown has, which is everything he says is going to be misunderstood intentionally by a fan base that's not happy he left. So, first off, he went after Mahomes, who's basically a deity in Kansas City.
Yep.
But more than anything, they're still salty that he's not a chief. So not only do you take a shot at a guy that's still there, they're mobbing for the organization against a guy that they just think left them high and dry, that they thought would retire a chief and be there forever and was part of this team along with Kelsey and Mahomes, the crux of this offense. And so it didn't matter what he said. If he said anything remotely slanderous about that organization or anything that could have been interpreted as such,
he was going to get some heat.
He was going to get crushed for it.
Yep.
So him saying, "Yeah, I got death threats over this." You maybe shouldn't have a podcast. Like,
Yeah.
not everybody
Surprise.
should. But
I'm not saying you should get death threats, but it's like, dude, you went out and spoke in an absolute of saying Tua all day versus Mahomes.
which is objectively hard to take seriously.
Well, sure, because Tua hasn't fully proved it at this level yet. And that's the thing that all of us are watching in that market with all of the mass of, weapons and talent they've added around him. They've put the onus on him. If he's good, they're going to be real good.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's not, he's going to be finding somewhere else to go.
That's right. So,
But yeah, these guys paint themselves into a corner. And
Yeah.
listen, on the Kansas City Chiefs side of it, let me say this, because the Titans go there on Sunday Night Football, first part of November, and that's going to be a great game. And I'm not saying that they're going to fall off the face of the earth, but I think they will have regressed a bit, missing the cheetah in that lineup. And listen, McCole Hardman is a world track guy too. But he is not as consistent as Tyreek Hill was in that offense. And yes, they still have Travis Kelce and all these things. But I think it's like having a really fast, V8 race car, but you've got a spark plug that's fouled out on one of the cylinders that's not quite firing on all 8. That's my opinion. Now, it remains to be seen. But I think that's a big deal. Not having him in that offense.
I do too, because I don't think you were in here when we did this, but I suggested that if we were to agree that Aaron Donald was the most one-of-one player in the league right now in terms of what he does compared to everybody else in that position, and he's paid in a way that would tell you he's one-of-one at that position.
And he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Right. He can walk into he could be a Hall of Famer today if
Absolutely.
they had the rules set up for him to do it. Who would number 2 on that list be? And we all had different answers. But I said it was Tyreek because that speed is just
Now, once he loses a step,
Yeah.
he goes the way so many have in this sport.
very much so.
But
yes.
yeah, he's pretty much
In
one of a
his
kind.
prime, you don't find another guy that
my.
can take a 2-yard hook route and still, from a standstill, blow you off the ball and just head right to the house.
I mean, there's been very few players with that kind of gear.
So they've got Sky Moore, who they
Yep.
like a lot. They've got Hardman, who I've just seen him do too many dumb things on the field.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He just hasn't been consistent. He's
Yeah.
got world-class track
Yes,
speed,
yes.
but he has not been as consistent a producer as Tyreek Hill has in that offense.
Juju was great when he was a number 2. They may need more from him this time. And then MVS, who, look, this is his chance to shine because he doesn't have a Devontae Adams
Right.
that's taking up all that attention. And he's a bigger wide receiver, and maybe he's going to flourish big time. I mean, you imagine you get better with Mahomes and with Kelce as well. But you're taking all those guys and you're saying, hopefully all of them can replace what Tyreek Hill did.
Well, and here's the thing I think if I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I'm concerned with. If something happens to Travis Kelce, I'm scared to death. And I got nothing against any of those other receivers you mentioned, but it's just different. They had plan 1 and 1A, and either one of those you can call Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce. Now Tyreek Hill is in Miami, so he ain't going to be able to come out there and do anything for you. And Travis Kelce is still the bread and butter of that thing for Patrick Mahomes. If he gets dinged up, that's going to be what's going to be so interesting to watch as to how this thing plays out.
And the one thing that he is going to see much more this year is double teams, because they couldn't double team him with Tyreek on the field.
No.
And so he was able to eat a little bit easier, at least. Like, not that he can't flourish anyway, because he is an outstanding player, the highest order player, but he's not going to have the space to operate that he has gotten used to.
Right. And until one of those other wide receivers you mentioned in their core proves somebody wrong and keeps making people pay, that's the way it's going to be. Because Marquez Valdez-Scantling does not strike fear in your heart like Tyreek Hill did with that 6th gear.
No, he doesn't. And Juju doesn't either. Sky Moore, I don't know. I know that dude can
He's
run.
a nice receiver.
Yeah.
He's young, but he's got to prove it.
Yeah, it's going to take some time. So the AFC West, and we will be talking about it all year long. they're going to beat the brakes off each other.
And
all these teams are going to weaken each other.
I heard you guys talking about last week about, where things are and how things may line up. And I totally agree with what Shafe, I think, said it. But those guys are going to beat each other up. And so how many playoff spots come out of that division? We'll see. Might surprise you that it's less than what we anticipate because of the interdivision battles.
Yeah, it could easily be 2, even though it could be all 4. It's like, I mean, it
Whoa,
could be,
whoa,
but
whoa.
not based on the schedule. It can't.
Easy there. Yeah,
Easy peaches. Back down.
Hey, Seabiscuit, get back in the gate, buddy. When the bell rings and the gate's open, you can run around.
Right. 615-737-1045 is the telephone number. 737-1045. It's a season of lists. We got lists all over creation. We got Pro Football Focus lists. We've got athletic lists. We got Football Outsider slander. We got all sorts of stuff going on. The NFL, what is this? June 27th. When does the season start? Tomorrow? No?
Got camp in a month, and then we're off to the races.
We're getting there. So we got a lot of ball to talk. It's J. Martin and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, if you were noticing doors and windows sticking, cracks in your bricks, a bowing basement wall, chimney leaning, concrete sinking, steps aren't level, all these kinds of things, they might be foundation issues. And if they are, then that is a big time concern that you need to get remedied. You need to find out if something needs to be done. You need to find out what needs to be done, and you need to find out who you can trust to give you those answers. And I have the answer for you. It's United Structural Systems here in Middle Tennessee for over a quarter of a century, locally owned, not a franchise. They are problem solvers, not problem creators. And what I mean by that is they don't just show up and find something that they can fix so that they can, separate you from something in your wallet. They're only going to do it if they have to. They come out, they give you a free estimate and tell you what's going on. You can absolutely trust them. Sometimes that job is smaller than you think it is. Sometimes in the moment, it's nothing at all. So you are in charge. You get to make the decision. If you say, yeah, whatever needs to be done here, you go ahead and take care of it. You don't pay until that work is done and you're fully satisfied. They just know how to treat their customers, and that is worth its weight in gold. With over 23,000 satisfied, you can feel great about placing this call. 615-227-2275 for United Structural Systems. Again, that telephone number is 227-2275 or online at ussTN.com. United Structural Systems.
The Zone.
Dude Perfect's 2022 That's Happy Summer Tour is coming to Nashville's Bridgestone Arena this Sunday. 104.5 The Zone has your chance to win tickets all this week. Be listening for your chance to win.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. We talked to the Dude Perfect guys a few years ago. So what do? Do they do their stunts?
I'm assuming that's the case. They'll have plenty of space to do it in.
That's true. It's like a circus, but without animals. Well, I don't know.
Kind of like the old Nitro Circus with Bam.
Could be presumptuous. Maybe there actually is. Maybe there are animals. I don't know. I don't know how to transition from that.
Maybe there'll be peacocks there. Who knows?
Definitely could be plenty of those. Tony Siragusa. This happened obviously last week. We still don't really have any update as to what exactly happened. He had CPR. I know that. They've revealed that around 11:45 or so a.m., the Toms River Police Department. And he was pronounced dead after they arrived at his home. They don't know. I know his father died of heart disease when he was in his early 20s, and they have a history of heart disease in their family. The reason I mention it now is because we didn't get to it last week, and it wasn't the kind of topic I wanted to do for a Bleep You Aaron Rodgers segment or something like that, but it has not escaped me that Tony Siragusa wasn't in the best of health, right? Like, wasn't in the best of shape.
Mm-hmm.
Played at like 340, maybe a little bit heavier than
might
that.
be conservative,
at times.
yeah.
Could be.
Just him and Sam Adams on that line for the Ravens defense. Wow.
Yeah, and we talked to Coach Mack, and I was like, Coach, one of the things that Siragusa did that didn't show up in the stat sheet was he ate up multiple guys and allowed his teammates to go after the quarterback.
Yep.
And I will say, though, after he got done playing, he started doing those hits for Fox. We talked about sideline reporters earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be in the end zone, cutting up, and there'd be pregame stuff, if I'm not mistaken, of him, like, eating all the worst food on earth and all of that kind of stuff. We need to stop treating that kind of lifestyle like it's some jovial joke mockery. And I say that from a position of someone who was on that side of it for a very long time. And so I care pretty passionately about the issue. We don't know, again, exactly what took Tony Siragusa at 55, but I can't imagine his diet helped him.
No, he had that working against him. Yeah.
And I hate that because, all the fat guys, right, they're just funny all the time, right? Whether it's Chris Farley or whether it's Tony Siragusa or whether it's one of these guys like, yeah, what can we get him to eat? And all this other kind of stuff. Stop that.
It's like a court jester.
It's a ticking time bomb.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I was going to see 40 before the Lord decided he had a different plan in mind for me a few years ago and awakened me to a different kind of life. And I know that it can be a difficult deal, made more difficult when people are egging it on the other side. I'm not saying that you shame people. I'm not saying that you treat them badly. I'm saying that we need to stop acting like this is a positive or that this is something that we can monetize, because it does kill people and it ruins their lives and it takes them from you way too soon. And that was immediately when I saw Tony Siragusa pass. This wasn't this had to have been a CTE or a mind thing or whatever. And maybe we find out that there is something to that. But if it's heart disease, we know where that came from.
Yeah.
And it's just that's irritating. As a guy that was 370 and is no longer 370, I just hate when those folks are treated as if they're court jesters as opposed to, encouraged to do something better.
Yeah, I know what you're saying is like even in a vicarious way, enabling things.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And look, that guy, if you look at it, everybody loved him. Like the league loved him.
I'd say everybody on that defense.
Oh, for sure.
He seems like that fun-loving guy. The thing that I thought was interesting about the whole day is that the same day, earlier in the day, they made the announcement that Jalen Ferguson had passed away. A guy from, Louisiana Tech, Sack Daddy, that was his nickname. And, Mac and I looked at him extensively and him coming out in that draft. And he's 26 years old. And we still don't even know what happened there. But, the Ravens organization lost a current and a former beloved player in the same day. So they had a really rough one last week.
Yeah, they did. They had a legend go, and they had a young guy that was competing not just for a roster spot, but to be a key contributor on that roster on the exact same day. You just never know. But I just saw that, and I wanted to point it out. That it's just, when you see that kind of thing, don't treat it like a joke. Like, most of the time, those people don't want to be seen that way. There might be some that do, and that's just the life that they want to lead, and you can't do anything about that. I know that when it was treated as a joke for me, that it was funny. It's like, how many ice pops can you eat or whatever like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was privately difficult to take. I didn't like it. I didn't want it to be the case. I also just didn't think that it could ever change. And
for
me it did.
I think it's documented with cases like Chris Farley is that inwardly they were sad people.
Absolutely.
In fact, a lot of comedians are. They're showing out and being the funny guy because Robin Williams is a prime example of that.
That's right.
Regardless of weight.
That's right.
But yeah, Siragusa, man, he and that Ravens defense made the Titans want to pull their hair out. Titans fans for sure. Because you're right. He and Sam Adams clogged up the middle right there and allowed Peter Boulware and Ray Lewis and those guys just to get after it. Ed Reed.
Mm-hmm. And I asked Mac, I was like, Mac, who has the Siragusa skill set? Is that still valued in this NFL? And he kind of said, not really. Like, that's not really the way things have changed and evolved so much. It isn't a focus, but it seems like it could be. If you could find a guy that could eat some space and
like
create.
Vita Vea, I feel like is more of that old mold, but what everybody's looking for is Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah. They're looking for monsters.
Right. Because that dude ain't fat. He's just enormous.
He's just frightening.
He's bigger than the studio door right here.
His hand is bigger than my head.
Yeah. I mean, I said it last Friday when I was on with Lucas filling in on Buck's show. He's like the Incredible Hulk. He's big everywhere. He's just a big human being.
That's right. After the headlines, you said everybody's looking for Jeff Simmons. Is anybody looking for Baker Mayfield? There may be a team that is. Also, Chris Plank from the Sooner Radio Network and Fox Sports Radio will join us in about 25 minutes. But we'll talk a little Baker Mayfield with Seattle potentially in the mix. Does it get done this week? We'll discuss. It's J Mart and Rhett Moan here on 104.5 The Zone. Hey, the clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. I told you about it all through June. They extended it for a couple of weeks. You have until 5 p.m. on Saturday. That's it. To take advantage of the hottest offer of the summer, 5 years, zero interest financing on practically everything in the showcases at Genesis Diamond. To get in now and splurge, maybe you need to treat yourself. Maybe it's time to surprise someone you love. How about a stunning $12,000 designer ring complete with a GIA certified diamond for $200 a month, or a $6,000 pair of diamond stud earrings for $100 a month? Smartest, easiest, best way to buy. Just find the item. What's the cost? Divided by 60. That's your payment. Nothing down, no interest for 5 years. You can even finance the sales tax. $4,000 item, eternity band for your anniversary, $67 a month. But it ends on Saturday at 5. It will not be extended again. Only at Genesis Diamonds on approved credit, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
7:02, good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. Something happened last night that had not happened since 2001.
1 second. It's over. They did it. They did it. The job is done. The Colorado Avalanche are Stanley Cup champions. And they will lift Lord Stanley a mile high.
The Avs defeated the Lightning 2-1 in Tampa Bay to capture the Cup. It is the third title in franchise history. Cole Makar won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. Ole Miss scored twice on wild pitches in a 3-run eighth inning. Rebels won their first national baseball title, sweeping Oklahoma in the Men's College World Series Finals with a 4-2 victory on Sunday. Ole Miss, as it was said by the committee, was the last team in the NCAA tournament, ended up winning the whole thing. And Chase Elliott won the Ally 400 at National Superspeedway. The race was delayed twice due to weather for Elliott, his second victory of the season. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Hour 2, J Mart and Ramon on this Monday. The next Monday we're back, it'll be July. And actually, we won't be here a week from today. Well, I will be. These two slackers won't. Well, I didn't mean you. I meant the one that's not here now that's extra slack. That's Ramon Foster. But Johnson Schaefer, he won't be here.
Believe you, Jason Martin.
You can say it all you want. It's still accurate. Rhett Bryan's in for Ramon Foster.
Doesn't make you a hero, Jason.
No one ever accused me of being a hero.
That's true.
Maybe a zero.
This freaking clown.
Chris Plank, Sooner Radio Network, Fox Sports Radio will pop in and hang out with us for a couple of minutes in the next segment. Baker Mayfield. Could happen today, could happen this week. Some in the know with the Seahawks think they're kind of finalizing the deal right now. The problem has always been the guaranteed $18.8 million here. And the fact that it's the Browns, and I think the league is ticked off at the Browns. I think all the other teams don't really care for that fully guaranteed contract to Deshaun Watson. But unless the Seahawks are just trying to bottom out, which, look, that might be the best option for them, is just go have a terrible season and then go find yourself one of these quarterbacks in a fairly loaded draft next year. But if you want to win right now, or at least compete or be competitive, Baker gets you a lot closer, because if you go and look at his numbers, again, he's not a scrub, Rhett. Like
No, he's not.
I mean, 2 years ago, he won a playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I think the big thing with him is the maturity level.
Yes. And it seems like everybody wants to come out of the woodwork to say they know he's immature. Like his own team said it. Other executives around the league say it. It's definitely become a narrative. Like he is certainly in the Johnny Manziel mold right now. At least how he is perceived. But if he goes to Seattle, they've still got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. So they've still got some talented targets for him.
Yes, they do. They're $8.5 million under the cap right now as I'm looking on Spot Track.
I mean, I look at Baker and I look at the rest of the division, right? Stafford's certainly, that's a different animal. Kyler, I mean, Baker has actually accomplished more than Kyler in that he's won a playoff game. And Kyler has not to this point in his career.
That's right.
Those two guys both played at Oklahoma. Both of them won Heisman trophies. Would you rather have Baker than Garoppolo or Trey Lance? In a vacuum. I don't mean with the weapons that they have necessarily or the coaching that they have. Which guy do you think wins you more football games? Which guy do you think has a higher ceiling? Or are those two answers? Those two answers may be different.
Yeah.
Baker may have a higher ceiling, but Garoppolo might be a steadier force.
Yeah. He's got to be available, too. I mean, he's had his bumps in the road with injuries. And, you know, if I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan, I don't know about their quarterback situation right now.
Well, it's Drew
you
Lock
know
and
about
Geno. Yeah, it's nothing. It's Geno Smith and
Geno Smith. Isn't that amazing?
I
The
can't believe he's
career
still in
that
the league.
guy has had.
How long's he been in the league?
Let's take a look here.
I remember him dropping in the draft to the Jets. He was one of those guys, and he dropped severely. He's been in the league since he played at West Virginia. It would have been 2014. Is that right? He's 31 years old.
That's amazing.
He's been around a lot longer on the field than I would have thought. It felt more like 2016.
Yeah,
something
he's
like
actually
that.
31.
Yeah, he his first season was 2013 with the Jets. Didn't play any in 2015. Didn't play any in 2018, 2020. Came back and was 1-2 in Seattle last year. He has a 8-year career in which he's played 34 games and is 8 games shy of 500 for his record.
Yeah. Fully vested veteran because of the time and those games played. Made $14 million in his career. But that's, because people forget about Geno Smith. That's interesting.
8 years. I would not have thought it had been that long, but he's still there. And they said he was the guy after they saw Drew Lock. Oh, Drew Lock's going to be the answer. And then they saw Drew Lock, and they saw what we saw. Cannon for an arm, simpleton. At Missouri, hey, Drew, just throw the ball as far as you can. Throw it to one of these receivers that also can play in the NFL.
There were reports about Baker Mayfield maybe being traded to Seattle.
Yeah.
Back around, first part of free agency when they acquired Deshaun Watson. Because it was talk about there and Carolina were the two places that that was mentioned more than anything. And I said to you last night, I'm like, I'm quite frankly, I'm surprised he isn't a Seahawk already.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, obviously, their money situation dictates part of that with the 18.8 you were talking about.
Yeah,
in his contract,
they want to extend him. They want to re-sign him, and they want to sign him to a new deal, a different deal than the one that he currently has. But
I just don't see him, regardless of however long Deshaun Watson is suspended, and it's going to be a while. I don't see that. I mean, I think the damage is done. I think you've got to move on from that.
Oh yeah, I mean, how did you let him come back? And I don't mean because he's done anything egregiously wrong. That thing is so sour.
Yeah, it's damaged.
They treated him so shabbily, and then he publicly said, "Yeah, they treated me shabbily." I don't know how. Well, money talks. We're back. Like it seems untenable to me. If I'm Baker, I tell him to jump in a lake at this point in time.
Well, yeah, because I mean, he's got to be thinking in his camp, what's the next thing that's going to be? What's the next injustice that's going to be done to me?
Yeah.
So make no mistake about it. Deshaun Watson he is not going to play football for quite some time.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that to lead off the third hour a little bit with the NFL hearing or whatever it is beginning on Tuesday. I still don't see the universe where he plays this year, but we'll see. We will see at that point.
I'd be surprised if he did.
Yeah. But they've said Jacoby Brissett is QB2, not Baker. It's like they know that they're probably just, again, the Baker thing is just they're waiting for the right dance partner to do something.
And that's where, again, the Browns and their awkward fumblings as an organization, it's like, why even say that publicly? Because everybody else, whoever wants them, is just sitting there going, whenever you're ready to cut him.
Exactly.
Let's go.
They're just waiting them out. Like, eventually you got to cut him.
I'm watching the waiver wire. Don't see anything on here yet. Nope. I mean, that's it. You've given it up.
They're waiting to get past that day so that money is.
Yeah. And you thought the minute they signed Jacoby Brissett, that was the insurance policy on Deshaun Watson anyway.
I mean, you look at some of these teams around this league, you can't tell me that Baker Mayfield's maturity is going to keep you from bringing somebody in that can win you games. We're going to use maturity until the Browns eat this, and then we'll go grab Baker Mayfield.
Right. Because there's always someone who wants to take on a, air quotes here, reclamation project.
That's right.
we can get the best out of Baker. We've got this offensive coordinator, and we've got this quarterback coach, and this head coach is going to do this, that, and the other. And sometimes it works. But, I'm sure Baker is ready to – he's probably had his bags packed for several weeks now.
For sure. I mean, I'm not saying there's 10 teams out there that would do it, but you can't convince me there's not 3 franchises.
Agreed.
That would kick the tires immediately on Baker Mayfield.
And the aforementioned Seattle and Carolina being 2 of the 3.
That's right. And even though they've got Matt Corral, and maybe he ends up with that gig, they've got Matt Corral and they've got Sam Darnold. They could still use Baker Mayfield right now.
Just like Drew Lock and Geno Smith, Yeah.
There's some bad quarterback situations in this league right now.
Yeah.
Really bad ones. And I know some people are going to bottom out. I bet you it feels like he's a Seahawk within the next 2 weeks. That report yesterday.
Well, now would be the time to do that. And
absolutely.
I think the other thing, too, maybe the catalyst for the Browns moving on is whatever happens with Deshaun Watson. Maybe it's a clean slate thing where it's like, okay, we know hypothetically right now, let's just say it's, after this hearing is concluded, and it's like we know Deshaun's going to be out for the 2022 season. We've already said Jacoby Brissett is that, so we're going to put him on the non-football injury list, and we, by the way, have released Baker Mayfield, or we have traded his rights to the Seattle Seahawks, and just get it housekeeping done.
For sure. One guy that knows Baker really well is Chris Plank, who works with Sooners Radio Network and Fox Sports Radio. We're going to chat with him about Arch, about Baker, about college football. Really good convo coming up next. It's J Mart and Rhett Moan here on 104.5 The Zone. Hey, if it's on your summer to-do list for your home, Lee Company's going to get it done. Heating and air conditioning. Don't worry about that heating right now. But air conditioning, plumbing, always got to worry. And electrical, this is a team you want on your side. With Lee Company on the job, you got more time to enjoy your home and your life. That time savings, as a parent now, it is nice to have somebody else that can come out and take care of some of these things for me. Their team of expert pros are specialized in their field, and that's important. When you see a truck, when you see somebody that's Lee Company does a bunch of different things, but they have people that are specialized in each area. They're not all doing everything. They're not jack of all trades. The company is, but they've got real experts in, electrical work or in HVAC work or plumbing work. If you're calling for a plumbing issue, a plumber is coming to you. So you can count on craftsmanship and excellence in the work being done. Call them today. Experience expertise that's going to make your life easier. And right now, save $20 on any service call. $20 off any service call. That's HVAC, plumbing, or electrical. Call Lee Company today, 615-567-1000. That's 567-1000 or online at leecompany.com. Lee Company is all you need. Welcome back. It's Jay Martin Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. The big guy is loafing like he loafs out in Cali. Is this the anniversary trip or is this just a family trip, Shave? Do you know?
I think it's just a family trip.
Okay. I know he's got his 10th anniversary coming up. And he asked me, he's like, what do I get Keisha? And I was just like, I don't know. What is it? Wood? Metal?
Yeah, they've got that chart. Yeah, it's like, you get her ivory.
Yeah, I think it was, he's like, I think it's
I don't know
metal.
why I did Scott
I'm
Graham
like,
there, but
yeah, you went full Scott Graham. It's like, I think it's metal. It's just like, all right, well, just get her a giant piece of scrap metal.
put it on a big chain.
or get a medal in the shape of a Tesla with a Tesla logo on it. You'd probably appreciate that.
So get her a turnover chain for their 10th anniversary.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's perfect. Who made up those things, though?
I have no idea. Somebody that's cheap. Like third anniversary would.
Yeah, because I'm like,
make her a train set.
Somebody made that up.
I don't know.
And, all I remember is that 25th anniversary is silver and 50th is gold and 75 is diamond and all that stuff.
Yeah. So we talked about Baker Mayfield in that first segment. A guy that knows a lot about Baker. Not that that's specifically the reason we had him on. We've got Chris Plank of Fox Sports Radio, Sooners Radio Network as well. Chris, what's going on, brother?
Oh, sorry. 10-year anniversary aluminum.
Oh, is it really?
Aluminum.
I
So
was
Reynolds
Googling
wrap.
it up while you guys were talking about. Yeah, Reynolds wrap.
I love you, dear. Here's an empty beer can.
I was just going to say,
Yeah,
basically,
exactly.
just go get a 24-pack and
That's
you're
right.
good.
That's
No,
right.
but just
There
give
you
her, give her one though instead of 24. It's like usually I drink a case, but
one
for you, just
I-
one today.
I got to admit, I got my 15th coming up next year, and my wife's been making a big deal, and all of a sudden it shows, and it's crystal. And I'm like, crystal? I mean, everything I know about
Sandwiches.
crystals is from, like, superhero movies, right? I got to go get one of the diamond crystals or something to save the world. But
Swarovski.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
But, the Baker Mayfield saga, guys, and thanks for having me on, Jason. I'm all in right now, and yeah, I'm a hopeless optimist for his career. I'm probably overly apologetic for things that went wrong last year, and I'm still a firm believer. So that puts me very much in a unique category of like myself when it comes to believing in Baker Mayfield right now.
So when you hear all the stuff about immaturity, and I know some of it's been leaked by people with agendas and all this, but yeah, I know there's been some immaturity issues, even dating back to Oklahoma and all this kind of stuff. A lot of it was more antic-ridden than the Johnny Manziel self-destructive stuff, but you knew him a little bit. You spent time around that team when he was the quarterback. Tell us a little bit about the Baker Mayfield that you know and that you covered.
Oh, he's awesome. And just, on a personal side, here's a guy that was their quarterback which is unique in college football, right? Whenever you have a guy that essentially his first year as quarterback was 15, and he basically or 14, excuse me. He basically quarterbacked 3 full seasons. And whenever you're projected to be the number 1 pick, and I think he was actually on campus for 4 because he transferred in, and then, that was back in the day where you actually had to sit out a season. So it's kind of wild to think about how long, because remember, the royal we in Sooner Nation, if you will, didn't think he was going to get that extra season, and Kyler Murray had transferred in, and then, magically at some point midway through the 2000, and I think it was the 16, every year runs together, during the 2016 campaign, it comes out, it's like, he got an extra year, Baker got an extra year, and so then Kyler Murray had to wait, but, the numbers beyond, he was he was a legit dude. He's the kind of guy that you want as your quarterback. But if he's not on your team, you can't stand him, right? Because he talks trash. He's going to let you know whenever he does something well. And he always played with a chip on his shoulder. And just personally for me, I felt like that there was never that evolving beyond everyone's against us, no one believes in us. Well, when you go to the playoffs and you make $16 million a year, what one analyst says on TV as a reason to try to, juice everyone up is not going to be enough to motivate a whole locker room. So he never really evolved beyond that. And I think that's where things started to go wrong. And, they didn't win. And when you don't win, suddenly it's like, oh, look how cocky he is. And he overthrew that pass. And he's trying to dance around too much in the pocket. So back to the original point, as a dude, as a person, he's the kind of guy that you want on your team. He's the kind of guy that's going to go all out for your team. And he somehow finds a way to find a chip on his shoulder with just about everything that anyone can say. All the things you say nice about people, right? Active in the community, good with kids. Jason, I hadn't talked to him in 3-4 years since he left, but when he came back for the ceremony where they had his bronze statue that was dedicated, he talked to us like he remembered us, and it's just, I'm like, wow, this dude he could probably run for governor of Oklahoma and win it. But he's the real deal personality-wise. The problem is something got sideways in Cleveland, right? And if it's, Odell, if it was an injury, I don't know what it was, but it's still kind of wild to see how he went from the hero of that city to an absolute zero in some fans' minds in a very short amount of time. But Baker, the dude, all the flash and things you see, yeah, that's part of his personality, but he is an awesome guy.
One of the things with him, as you said, I don't know what went wrong in Cleveland. I continue to believe he should have shut it down when he was hurt, because I think the lasting impression is of a guy that wasn't performing, not a guy that shouldn't have been out there. I don't think he did himself any favors by trying to tough it out and being the wounded warrior. If he had shut it down, we would still be talking about the guy. More often than not, I think, we would still be talking about the guy that beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs and had them going in the right way instead of the wrong way. The optics now and what we're thinking of, the last impression we had of Baker is not positive.
No, not at all. And, it's interesting because it's that great double-edged sword, right? And I could sit and talk about Baker because at the core of everything, I still think the problem in Cleveland was that he didn't win. Suddenly, Odell Beckham Jr. becomes this bastion of how you're supposed to be a teammate because he had a couple good games with the Rams, right? And now it's just like, oh, Odell didn't like him. Well, no one liked Odell before he had a couple of good games with the Rams and then got injured. Everyone thought he was a problem in the locker room. So, yeah, I'm with you on that front. Now suddenly it becomes whenever he has that bad year, well, they had the ball against Kansas City and they couldn't drive down and score. And did he really do that much in the year? I mean, it's just wild how suddenly you start picking apart someone when they have a bad season and you're ready to move on. Listen, Jason, I think you know this about me. I'm a diehard Raiders fan. Derek Carr throws an incomplete pass, and suddenly everyone wants to cut him, and he's the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of the National Football League. And it quickly became the way of the land in Cleveland with Baker Mayfield. So I'm with you. But if he shuts it down, then it's, he's not out there trying to give 100%. Here's a guy that has a chip on his shoulder, and this injury is going to keep him out. And I think this past year, that mindset hurt him. And it cost him not a lot of money because he's still going to make $16 million, but I think it cost him a lot as far as his future in Cleveland is concerned.
Chris, we were discussing before you came on that we're kind of the opinion that they will move on from Baker Mayfield, the Cleveland Browns, that is, when everything is settled up with what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson, because publicly the organization has said Jacoby Brissett is the number 2. And so I feel like once they know what's going to happen with Deshaun and how long he's out, they'll do some housekeeping and clear out all of it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, man. And then when are we going to learn about Deshaun? I have this theory, just a quick sidebar, that I don't think this is going to end up getting to the arbitrator. I think they're going to settle. I think something's going to happen either later today or overnight or we'll wake up tomorrow morning on your show to it, guys, because I think Deshaun Watson in his camp has shown that we want to show this mindset that we want to fight publicly, but then when push comes to shove, we realize we're not going to win. So let's just go ahead and settle these cases and maybe take their 1-year ban. I digress, so I think you're 100% right. They've more than moved on at the quarterback position, right? They've brought in both Jacoby Brissett and, for some reason, Joshua Dobbs, who I forgot was still bouncing around the league, right? And that's not a knock on Dobbs, but, you've brought both of those guys in, and they're practicing right now, and they're working out, and they've made their plans. They've made their bed, and I think there's a better chance of, me having actually known that aluminum was a 10-year anniversary gift without Googling it than there is a Baker Mayfield ever being the starting quarterback for Cleveland again. And I'm all for it, Seattle or Carolina or maybe even New Orleans, wherever he ends up. But, yeah, I think that's a really good point. Now, maybe that's part of this hope and this push to get it done before, July 26th when the Browns open up camp. But yeah, I think that's a really, really good angle that honestly I hadn't thought about too much. My hope was get him somewhere where he can start fresh and start new. Cleveland's in no rush, right? Because Cleveland's still paying him $16 million, and if they find out that Deshaun Watson's suspension isn't just a year, it's indefinite, well, that puts, a complete unknown when he could possibly return. So, yeah, I think that's I've said it 1,000 times because I like it a lot. That's a really good point. Once everything gets settled down, then I think they'll make a move.
So when it comes to the Browns, I also wonder, and maybe it's just conspiracy theory guy coming out of me here, that maybe Cleveland went to Deshaun. They were like, I know you want to fight this. We need you to get this done. Like the organization's like, we'd like to have you on the football field at some point in the next century. So if you could settle, that'd be great. Like almost in the Bill Lumbergh voice. Like, I'm going to need you to come in on Saturday. We need you to get this done right now. What do you think of that?
I do think that, but it's still odd to me that these were, of the cases that are out there, these were settlements that were ready to go for a long time, right? I mean, you go back to the near trade to the Dolphins, and suddenly I think at the time it was 2, maybe now it's, obviously 4, couldn't settle, or he would probably be a Miami Dolphin right now. I think, again, Jason, I need to come on more often so I can get all this information so I can do a better show for my show. I think you're right. I think maybe not just the Browns, but also the NFLPA said, hey, if you want us to fight for you, you've got to have some of these cases settled. Because, and here's something that I don't know, and honestly, Jason, I've listened to so many podcasts on this, on the legal side of things, and I honestly feel like maybe it's confused me even more, and I've got to get back to that KISS mindset, that keep it simple, stupid. But as part of the reason that you settle, can the arbitrator, can she not go talk to those who you've settled with now? As part of the settlement, is there a non-disclosure in there where now they're not able to talk, or the only people that she can talk to, the 4 remaining? I don't know. And if that was part of it, that's brilliant. I don't know if that's part of it at all. But yeah, I think Cleveland might have played a role in nudging him that direction. I'm sure the NFLPA did, because now, if you believe everything that's out there, the NFLPA is going to try to open up that Pandora's box of, hey, you guys can sit here and claim this on Deshaun Watson, but look at how they're ignoring issues in Washington and Vegas with workplace, and how they've handled the punishment of owners. Now, the owners' punishment hasn't been collectively bargained under the CBA and the NFLPA, but if you can raise any kind of concern about how they handle disciplinary issues with their owners, maybe that's a chance where you can curry some favor with the arbitrator and change the mindset here. But no, I think that's definitely a part that had to be played in this by Cleveland and maybe the NFLPA too.
Chris Blank's with us. So we've obviously talked plenty about Arch over the past few days on this radio station, being right in the midst of SEC country, and Texas eventually getting here, and Oklahoma getting here as well. But I'm going to ask you a different question and say, how do you feel today if you're Quinn Ewers? That to me is the most fascinating part of all this, because Arch is going to be all right. I mean, certainly the whole weight of the world is on him, and maybe Sarkisian's future is on him. But Quinn Ewers is the number 1 guy who left Ohio State, goes to Texas, and knows that a Manning is coming there next year.
And honestly, we don't know what kind of college quarterback Quinn Ewers is going to be either, right? I'm not kidding you. When Arch committed on Thursday, okay, I do a local show here in Norman, Jason, and we were in a commercial break, and my producer gets in my ear and he says, hey, dude, we got breaking news. Let's shutter what we were doing next. Arch Manning just committed to Texas. And in my mind, I was like, is that – I mean, I get it. It's Arch Manning, but, Oklahoma was never in on him. Is it really that big of a deal?
Amen.
And then all of a sudden, Jason, it blew up. Yeah. Sports, and I get it. His last name is Manning. Sports Center is talking about it, and I don't gauge my sports relevance by Sports Center, but when they're talking about a college football recruiting story, suddenly you're like, okay, I guess this is a big deal. Then everyone's like, suddenly it becomes, in 2023, is there going to be a quarterback battle between Arch and Ewers? And all the Texas fans are saying, no, there's a plan. He's got a red shirt. And there's one guy that came in as a top 5 or 5-star recruit, and that was Bryce Young that sat. And the only reason he did was because Mac Jones had that offense humming. So anyway, all that to say, if I'm Quinn, I'm a little bit bent today, to be honest with you, right? You've got to play at least 2 years, And now your second year, if you're good, is probably going to be viewed a lot like, I don't know, Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma, where everybody wants that backup guy. It's got to be very tense. Now, Sark did a good job in convincing Arch Manning that there's a reason he needs to be in Austin. So I'm sure that sales mindset is out there as well to convince, Quinn Ewers that it's going to be okay and you're still our guy and we're built on competition. But, especially when you think about this in our NIL world, Quinn Ewers was one of the first NIL rock stars, right? Mm-hmm. Well, this has to affect him. I don't care how much money Arch Manning has. He's still going to be involved in the NIL world. So, yeah, not a fun day, I think, when all that broke to be Quinn Ewers.
Do you think maybe Peyton or Eli or somebody was able to tell Arch, so, look, if I'm Arch, I don't want any part of Tennessee. I don't want any part of Ole Miss.
Agreed.
I don't want to follow that. I want to carve my own niche out. And the idea of Texas expanding into the SEC and you being the quarterback at the helm of that potentially in the first season of it, there's something to that. But also, hey, Arch, do you know how much Texas fans think they're entitled to a national championship every year, despite the fact they never seem to actually do it outside of Vince Young? Can you imagine, Arch, how you would be seen with your last name if you were the guy to actually do for Texas what their fans feel entitled to get every year?
I think it's a really, really cool angle to this, right? He could have gone to Tennessee, and again, I'm with you. I don't think you want that kind of – well, you're already a Manning, so you're going to have that pressure wherever you go, but it's ratcheted up at Ole Miss and Tennessee. He goes to Texas, and he's able to blaze his own trail. And if they turn things around, because if Oklahoma and Texas end up in the SEC in the year they're supposed to, his, sophomore season, going into his junior season, right, 25 – so, no, you're sophomore season, I think. Anyway, math. You're able to go and do your own thing. And if you lead Texas back after the 800 times they've been back and it never really materialized over the last, 15 years, boy, what a kind of little checklist resume moment for him. And I think that has a lot to do with this, guys. I really do. I think the idea to blaze your own path, to do your own thing, to help bring back a program that hasn't been there, I think it played a major role in his decision to go to Texas. And obviously, their quarterbacks coach did a great job. Their passing game coordinator, Brendan Marion, did a great job. Sark did a great job. But I do think when you step back and you're like, Austin, a fan base that is going to really, really lose their minds if we pull this thing off, and the opportunity to create legendary status in a third different city, let's go. I think bringing Texas back had a lot to do with this.
Jason, to frame your idea of expectations in that program, from Texas football, from Longhorns football, from their Twitter account the day when it was announced, 70-55 the last 10 seasons, 0 conference championships in the last decade, and 2 losses to the Kansas Jayhawks. Welcome to Texas. That's at right. Arch Manning.
Yeah, exactly. Things are not going well.
No
in
pressure.
Austin. But again, there's part of me that steps back, and it's whomever, if it's Brett Milwee, their quarterback's coach, if it's Sark, if it's, I don't know, some NIL deal that we don't know about, which I seem to doubt. Think about that. They were 5-7 last year. Think about it, they end up landing the number 1 recruit in the country. Now, I went through numbers because I'm obsessed with sometimes how a storyline blows up. But they're like, you hear in the college football world, Texas getting that top-notch quarterback. Here they come. Well, recruiting's never been the issue. They had the 5th-ranked recruiting class in 22. They were 8th in 20, 3rd in 19, 3rd in 18. They were 7th in 16. The only time they seemed to dip were the 2 years to the end of the Mac Brown era and when they have a coaching change. And, by the way, the final 2 years of the Mac Brown era, they were 17th and 17th. And the 3 prior, they were 2nd, 4th, and 2nd. So this has never been an issue, but landing this big fish is just massive. You've seen already, 3-4 commitments that they've had. So, yeah, I'm with you. It's amazing to think that a 5-7 team that has lost to Kansas, 2 of the last 4 or 5 years, finds themselves landing the number 1 recruit in the country. It's unbelievable.
So how much baseball is your audience going to be wanting to talk today coming off the College World Series?
I think a lot, but I also realize that my peeps have been enamored with things like getting out-fanned in the stands by Ole Miss fans. I think people are still mad the fact that this team made an out at third base, the first and third out in Game 1 back on Friday. Baseball purists were having a hard time embracing what Oklahoma did, which was different. But, it's wild. They won a national championship in softball, trying to become the first program that ever did it in softball and baseball. But I hope they do, Jason, because to be very greedy, we got a lot of work to do on campus before every facility is where it needs to be SEC ready. And nowhere is that more evident than baseball. They've got to upgrade their baseball stadium, and the hope is that this is a spark that kind of fuels that a bit, because they've got to get that stadium where it needs to be, just like in football with some of their facilities, to be ready to battle in the SEC in 25.
So I got to say, you sound awfully lucid for a guy that works with Arnie Spanier. I mean, I've worked with him a few times because Torres was out, and I've worked with him and hosted. Man, he is a great guy, man, but I'm patting him on the head right now and saying, bless your heart, because it is, boy.
He decided, like, literally at 12:30 last night, he's like, don't forget, I want to talk about Freddie Freeman. And I was like, okay. And literally launched into this. How dare he? What an embarrassment. I'm just like, oh, my gosh. The dude had been in Atlanta since he was 17 years old. Come on. He's like, if I was his teammate, I'd go cram. Yes, you've got to prepare yourself for the insane is what you have to do. And if you can do that and you can embrace it, then life is okay. But, yeah,
that man will argue with anything.
Anything.
I was saying, you play your whole season, Miami, to get Game 7 on your home court. And he's like, wait a second, J. Martin. I'm like, wait, what? Are you arguing against home court advantage right now?
The beautiful thing right now is that the sky is blue outside. Well, I don't know. It's a little bit of a hue of a green, I think. My personal favorite is when Arnie argues with the update anchor. I don't know if that's right. Like, that's all this guy does, his numbers. So, yeah, you have to kind of open up an alternate reality. You need a little Rick and Morty help if you're going to end up understanding 90% of what my man's throwing out there.
Rick and Arnie. Appreciate you, Plank. Thank you,
Jason.
brother.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
have a great show.
Yeah, thank you, too. That's Chris Plank, Sooner Radio Network. That man deserves all the prayers.
With Arnie Spanier?
Dude, Arnie's like I said, Arnie is a great guy, man. But, whew.
On air, he's always been wound up tighter than a cheap watch.
You were going for a personal record every time you work out with Arnie, because Arnie's going to work you out mentally, because he's going to find a way to disagree with absolutely everything.
Yep.
So every time you work with Arnie's leg day, huh?
Seriously, it is like massive leg day. It is leg day in the videos where all the bowels get evacuated because you picked too much weight.
Ooh.
Wow.
Thought that'd be a good way to go to break.
That's a visual.
Hadn't heard from Goody Mike lately. From Cleveland, of course.
I can talk some Baker Mayfield.
That sounds perfect. We'll do that when we come back. It's Jay Martin and Rhett Moan here on 104.5 The Zone. Woo! Hey, my friends at Mortgage Investors Group, they've got a new tool to help you fight rising interest rates. It allows you to pre-qualify and lock in your rate while you shop for the right home. So once your rate is secured, that gives you 3 months. It gives you 90 days to find and purchase your new home worry-free. They've also got a float-down option that allows a renegotiation should it improve from the original locked-in rate. So it's all on your side. Everything benefits you. Mortgage Investors Group's Lock, Shop, and Save program is available for all types of loans, including conventional, FHA, VA, and rural development. No contract required, no upfront fees. You can switch to any other program once your property is identified. You need to get in touch with them. This is a great deal. This Lock, Shop, and Save offer is one to take advantage of from Mortgage Investors Group, the Southeast leading mortgage lender. That they're going to help you close on time. They're going to make sure your loan is structured right. They're going to help make those home buying goals a reality. Go to migonline.com today. That's the website, migonline.com. Take advantage of this. MIG, you can text those 3 letters to 31399 to get pre-qualified. Again, one more time, that's MIG to 31399. Lock, Shop, and Save. Awesome. Mortgage Investors Group, the right home loan, equal housing lender, license number 109111. J. Martin and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Little young MC. I interviewed him years ago.
The song's 30-plus years old, and it still holds up, guys.
It's still good.
I mean, I always like that.
Still good. Goody Mike is good, too. He's in Cleveland. What's up, Michael?
What up, though? What's up, Jason?
How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm good. You know, just home shopping, doing big boy Michael things, trying to, that's all I'm doing.
Good.
What's up, Red? Long time no speak, man.
Big Mike,
Hey,
I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing great, man. Wife's treating me great. Life's been great. God is great. I'm doing great. But
That's
I
awesome.
wanted to call and give y'all some perspective from some of these Cleveland Browns fans. You know what I'm saying? Because I still be in the barbershop. I still get around a little bit, talking football a little bit more and more. So the one thing homeboy didn't mention with Baker Mayfield was that plant heard all around Ohio when he planted that flag, and it's still in that Oklahoma Ohio State game, and he planted that flag on the horseshoe field. He was behind the 8 ball the moment that happened. With a lot of these Browns fans up here in Ohio, he didn't immerse himself into the community like how a lot of Cleveland is. Y'all should know Cleveland is a very loyal city. So if you immerse yourself into Cleveland and they feel like you got some loyalty, they'll give you that loyalty back. He didn't do none of that. So they're not upset about it. As far as Deshaun Watson go, he's immersing himself in the city, and also he got the approval of Bernie Kosar, who they still hold with high regard.
That's the last guy they had, Mike. Of course they still hold him in regard.
Yeah, you better not say one bad thing. Trust your boy. As good as I am in the hood, if I talk about Bernie Kosar, I'm not allowed in that street no more. Straight up. So, but yeah, man. So that's Deshaun Watson. They ready to give him another year, and actually didn't have some friends talking crap like we running the Titans plan. We're gonna run the ball and play good defense. So. It's going to be interesting to see what happened, but I just wanted to, y'all was talking about Mayfield, so I thought I'd call and let y'all know what they saying in the streets. You dig?
Yeah, man.
Y'all be safe, man. God bless.
Yeah, man. Same
All right,
to you,
man.
brother.
Take care of yourself.
Talk to you soon.
Big Mike ain't kidding about the Bernie Kosar either.
Dude, that dude.
Hey, it's the Father, Son, Holy Ghost, and Bernie Kosar in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, they might kill me if I go to Cleveland, being a Denver fan, because of what the Broncos did to the Browns in the playoffs with the drive. The fact that the flag was planted at Ohio State is something I kind of forgot about as it relates to the state.
I did too until Mike mentioned it. And I'm like,
I had not thought
what?
of that in a while.
Yeah.
I even thought about it when we were talking to Plank, but I didn't make the connection between Ohio State and Columbus and Cleveland and how revered Ohio State is. So that's
an accumulative
really
thing that adds up. Yeah, that could certainly be a little.
Ohio, it all sucks.
We're not doing Cleveland. We're not doing Cleveland sports radio, but we are going to talk about Deshaun Watson a little bit after the headlines, including. I thought that was really interesting from Plank in the last segment that he thinks this thing may not even get to this investigation tomorrow. They may try to settle this thing today. And then Andrew Brandt suggesting via Twitter a few days ago that what was the tweet exactly that you would put in here? Okay, here it is. Browns have 2 quarterbacks on their roster combining for $65 million in 2022. I assume that means Baker and Deshaun, right? And in my opinion, neither will play for the team this year. That's good ownership right there. That is solid stuff right there. That is Michael Scott Paper Company stuff. It's J Mart and Rhett Moan here on 104.5 The Zone. I want to talk to you about PAI Medical and the help they're giving to thousands of men and women when it comes to hair loss. Look, you don't want to end up with the overnight thing that doesn't look genuine. You don't want it to be not your own hair. But PAI Medical has the most advanced procedures when it comes to surgical and non-surgical solutions where they can reintroduce your blood. They can just move your hair around a little bit. thinking it up, a gradual process that takes, a year, maybe a little bit longer, where people that are around you every day don't even notice, but your confidence is coming back to you slowly but surely. I actually went and saw him back in the fall. It wasn't like a giant problem for me, but I knew some people that had had success with PAI, so I went and visited. I sat down with Michael Ramsey. They took some photos. They told me, hey, here's something we think we can do. Here's what we can accomplish. We can thicken up your crown a little bit. I'm overjoyed. We're about, 7 months now, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe a little bit longer. Maybe it's actually 8 into the process, and there's been a lot of growth. My hair looks better now than it did 10 years ago, and we're still seeing more growth. I'm going in for the laser treatments a couple times a week as well. Go call them. I'm telling you, it's really, really special stuff. PAI Medical with affordable payment plans to fit anyone's budget. They've been here for over a quarter of a century. All they do is hair. They're the very best at it. 615-376-6010 is the telephone number to call. 376-6010. And talk to them. Let them show you what they can do for you, or visit them online at wegrowhair.com. That's wegrowhair.com.
8:02, good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. Something happened last night that had not happened in hockey in the National Hockey League since 2001.
5 seconds to go. Up it comes to the line. Colorado has won the Stanley Cup.
Sean McDonough with the call on ESPN. The Avs defeated the Lightning 2-1 in Tampa Bay to capture the Cup. Third title in franchise history for Colorado. Cole Makar won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. Ole Miss scored twice on wild pitches in a 3-run eighth inning as the Rebels won their first national baseball title, sweeping Oklahoma in the Men's College World Series Finals with a 4-2 victory Sunday. And Chase Elliott won the Ally 400 at National Superspeedway. The race was delayed twice due to weather. For Elliott, his second victory of the season. Rocky Foundation Repair and Waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. On your Over the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5. The Zone.
What's happening? Welcome in, J. Martin and Ramon. With Ramon out, Rhett Bryan in. So it's J. Martin, Rhett Moan.
Yes, indeedy-doody.
Teresa Walker, the Associated Press, will join us in the next hour. I think you should still, on Thursday, tell us about Chase Elliott winning the race in your top of the hour update. I was joking with Rhett. Be like, he just finished.
400.
See if we can get it going all the way through June because the race nearly took that long.
After 37 lightning delays. Teresa, that's a thing.
You know what? That race was so long, Delaney Walker blew out his leg again.
Whoa.
Wow. That's the thing about Teresa Walker is I don't think folks really realize how many things she covers in the state of Tennessee. Yeah. I mean, I just saw her last week at Ric Flair's press conference for his final match. And then, of course, she's, reporting from the racetrack. I mean, she covers it all.
Yeah. State sports editor.
I mean,
all over the place.
She's in Memphis with Grizzlies and, she's everywhere.
She covers the state like a giant Afghan. Just
blanketing coverage.
It's a Snuggie.
I had a Snuggie. Never had a Slanket, but I had a Snuggie.
nothing wrong with the Snuggie.
Slankets. I like the Slanket name better.
Man, how many of those dang Snuggies did they sell? I mean, they were everywhere.
What's on the all-time list with the Snuggie when it comes to stuff that had its moment in the sun and a lot of people bought into it?
What was that wash rag? That
the ShamWow.
ShamWow, that's right.
Vince.
Billy Mays here.
Oh, yeah. The late, great Billy Mays.
That's right.
Billy Mays.
I feel like Flex Seal is on that track right
Flex
now.
Seal.
Like Flex Seal.
Watch me fill up
Let me save this boat.
The Foreman Grill started that way.
Oh, yes, it did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The ShamWow, and then he did whatever that juicer was.
I don't remember.
That one didn't have the same effect. And then Vince got in trouble for... I'm not exactly
Don't forget
sure,
Slap Chop, too.
Slap Chop, that's the one I was talking
That's
about.
it.
I said juicer, but I meant Slap Chop.
Slap
not
Chop.
even close. But
That's okay.
It
It still had to do with veggies getting smashed up in the...
Sure.
I'm going to give you that.
Sure it did.
Now, in the 70s, as a kid, it was Ron Propeel and Ronco Company. I mean, they, the Pocket Fisherman, they sold a blue million of those. And, of course, GLH, good-looking hair.
Yeah.
Suzanne Summers, the Thigh Master.
I was going to
That's
say
right.
the Thigh Master's definitely on that
That's
list.
right.
I mean, there's a
Jane Fonda workout videos.
Sweating to the Oldies,
Yes.
Richard
Sweating
Simmons.
to the Oldies, yeah.
Who's basically a hermit now. Nobody's heard from Richard
Fun
Simmons
fact.
in years.
Cousin of Jeff Simmons.
Okay. Didn't see that going
Probably
there.
not, but I can see maybe there's
how
a
distant?
Richard in his family somewhere.
How distant? Well, those
Opponents
Ray,
might think he's
those,
a Richard.
Those Ray
with
Stevens
how much trash
videos.
talking he does.
Those Ray Stevens videos sold a ton of those.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
The street videos.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how about the one? What was the one with Tim Conway with the character
Dorf on Golf.
Dorf on Golf. And then the Tom Emanski's back-to-back AAU national championships.
I mean, we could talk forever about the height of Fred McGriff's
Dog Strucker hat. It had a different altitude. It was so tall. It was like a snow peak on the top of it.
I loved it, man.
Oh,
I love me some Fred McGriff.
Oh, who didn't? But God, that hat was so...
It was gigantic.
My grandfather didn't have trucker hats that tall.
Lincoln didn't have a hat that large.
The only thing that hat was missing was a rope across the bill.
Oh, don't forget the scrambled eggs, the eagle wing scrambled eggs on the bill.
USS something or other.
My grandfather, who was in the Navy in World War II, had those type of hats.
That hat, that baseball hat, and it's just this generic trucker hat. It made his head look like as long as Peyton Manning's neck and forehead and head all together. Wow.
That's the lasting thing is that, and when you see the kids pivot, they get the ball and then they pivot over here and then throw.
And throw into the trash can.
He's got you going, man.
You're going to throw into a metal trash can at home plate.
That's right. From that to, I have no idea. Deshaun Watson's hearing begins tomorrow. Sue Robinson is the appointed disciplinary officer that is agreed upon for the NFL and the NFLPA. Now, she has zero track record of ruling on cases involving players.
Okay.
She's a former member of Delaware's district court for more than a quarter century. Now, let's see. She has most of what she's done, this according to ESPN, cases involving patent disputes, trademark infringement, and antitrust matters. So this isn't exactly her wheelhouse.
No, this is not her lane at all.
She was the first female chief judge for the District of Delaware. She served on the Judicial Conference of the United States as well. The first thing I thought of when I saw this was she's a woman. And in this case, that matters.
Oh, it's huge. It is huge.
Plank told us, Chris Plank of Fox Sports Radio came on with us in the last hour, and he said he doesn't think this even gets to the hearing tomorrow. He sees it being settled today or overnight or something like that. What do you think of that?
I hadn't thought of it until he mentioned it, but those things judicially do happen. I mean, there's a lot of times where, you're about to have some court proceedings and whatever it is, even those civil matters where, there's a last minute deal that is struck and you don't actually have to go to court. I can imagine that would be a possibility. In fact, I think if all of the cases were settled, 20 of the 24 we believe have been reported to be settled, maybe that might even put that on the fast track. But yeah, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
And then Plank asked a question about the NDAs. He's like, the 4 that didn't settle or the ones that have settled, can the NFL now go talk to those? Can Sue Robinson hear from those people? Can the Browns talk to those people? Well, one of the reasons why the other 4 didn't settle, if I'm not mistaken, is because they didn't want to sign an NDA.
I believe I've read that too.
I think a condition of the settlement was a non-disclosure agreement. Right. So I think that once those were settled, they're dismissed. They got their money, and at this point, they're vaporized. They're not allowed to talk about this any further.
Right.
So I think the answer is no to that question. NFL is expected to push for a lengthy, that's the word that's used in the article, suspension. And the NFLPA, of course, is going to defend Watson, as they're always going to do, defend a player.
If Alvin Kamara gets 6 games,
he's got to get the season. But I feel like they should try to push for more than a season.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was indefinite.
Do we still feel that way, Shafe, about indefinite after the settlements?
I think the NFL goes for indefinite, and then we see what the arbitration process is with this. And they may say a year.
I just look at it again, and I say...
a year with conditions that have to be met.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Therapy and
counseling.
All of that kind of
and
stuff.
And just run down the list of all those items.
I will tell you that I continue to believe that Cleveland needs to pay a dumb tax of the highest order for this, and that it needs to be longer than a year.
Well, but here's the thing. They kind of are paying the dumb tax.
Well,
yeah, because if he doesn't
it's the money that they're going to be paying a guy that's not going to be playing for.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're paying $1 million.
No.
in a base
the
sal. Obviously.
The guaranteed money. The guaranteed money is the dumb tax. I know what you're saying.
I'd like to see it. I mean, look, again,
and
if he's innocent of all of this.
Here's the other dumb tax. Other teams, I don't think, want to do business with them. That's a dumb tax.
I agree with that.
That's a dumb tax.
Do we think collectively that he plays this year? At all?
I think it has to be no less than a year in order for at least public perception to be satiated.
Yes. Yeah, I do not anticipate him playing
now,
in 2022.
The person ruling on this, that doesn't have to matter to them because that's not their job. They don't have to worry about optics or anything like that with whatever ruling that they hand down. If you're the league, optically, it's got to be at least a year.
And that goes beyond, we're looking down the road. Think about this. Let's say in 2023 at some point he's reinstated. He hadn't played football in 2 years.
Well, and here's the thing. If he's suspended for the year, the contract gets told. That $1 million is then next year. It's not this year. That's next year.
Right. But the bigger thing on the field is he hadn't played in 2 years.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, the longer you get away, then you start to wonder which Deshaun Watson comes back.
Well, unrelated, did you see the report? And I think it was Warren Sapp on a podcast, but said that he had heard that Colin Kaepernick's workout with the Raiders was disaster. And again, Colin hasn't played in 6 years, whatever.
Warren Sapp is not.
He's not exactly the source.
I understand. Consider the source,
but
what I'm drawing the line to is time away from the game.
Nobody's going. Here's the truth on that. Nobody's going to report if it was a disaster, because of the outcry that comes with saying, that didn't go very well.
Sure.
But if we're really just thinking, if you took Kaepernick's name off it and put insert quarterback here whose last great season was this, and here was his record and all this other kind of stuff, take the politics and the name and the heat of all of that out of it. What's the logical conclusion as to what you would expect from that guy in 2022 at a workout? And the answer is not a whole heck of a lot.
No.
It's such a...
Because the game has changed since he's been out.
Right. And in fact, I would argue most people wouldn't get that shot in 2022 at all.
Yeah.
Based on how long they've been away from the game and everything else.
I mean,
it's just such a unique situation.
The way that sports is evolving, we're way beyond the times where Ted Williams and guys like that would go serve in time of war and miss considerable time, come back and have a Hall of Fame career. In football, it just keeps moving.
The further you get away from the game, the harder it is to come back and play that game at a high level.
And you're either in the circle or you're out of it. So
when's the last time we saw Deshaun Watson on a field? We'll look that up during a break. We'll come back and talk more. 615-737-1045. 737-1045 is your telephone number. PFF this morning released NFL secondary rankings. Where do the Titans find themselves on that list? We'll talk about that. It's Jay Mart and Ramon with Rhett in for the big guy here on The Zone. Jay Martin and Ramon, with Ramon out. Red Bryant, Titans Radio is in. 615-737-1045 is the telephone number. Just kind of letting this one ride.
Tighten up.
That's right. Question of the day on Twitter: what are some of the most memorable direct response commercials in TV history? And we put the ShamWow video up there.
Just to give an example.
I have another one that I just put in the in our Slack for maybe we can use tomorrow. It's something I've thought about for a while, and finally actually wrote down when I thought about it earlier, so that it didn't just, as many ideas go, just way past me. They're good and then they're gone. Abby sent me a text during the break. Tire discounters. I'm not sure exactly where. I can't tell. The road signs are turned away from me. Wait a second. They actually aren't. I'll be able to tell you where this is. The sign says, "I tell dad jokes. Sometimes he laughs." It's not Friday, but there it is.
That's good.
And it's not spaced right. The letters, there's a couple of letters that are falling off the sign. I'm like, that sounds about right. For that joke, that's what you need.
They're usually pretty clever with signage like that, too.
Tire discounters?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Remember what we used to run the spot, Shafe, and they said at the end of it, "Google us." That was so annoying.
Well, we could talk about annoying spots, but we don't have time. Looks like Honorary St. Thomas Midtown Way is part of this. And I see, oh, wait, all right, I think I see the Hutton Hotel behind.
Okay, yeah, so it's just down the street.
Yeah, okay. What are you doing over here? She might be checking out babies at the hospitals. I don't think she was rounding this week, though. 2022 NFL secondary rankings this morning put out by Pro Football Focus. Again, it's time for lists. And as we say, everything you hear that you think is a slight against the Titans, write it down, keep it there so you have receipts in case it goes your way. If it doesn't, just burn that sheet of paper. People will never know that you did it in the first place.
Yep.
So let's take a look at where the Titans find themselves and try to figure out. I'll play a little game with Rhett and see what you can come up with here. Who would be number one on their list, secondary-wise? Or I'll say it this way. Top five. Who do you think would be in the top five? That way you have more of a margin for error to pick one of those teams or a few of those teams.
Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas is 21st. So no.
Okay. Way off on that. How about the Los Angeles Chargers?
Okay, now we're getting there. Number 8. Not quite top 5, number 8. I look at it and I see J.C. Jackson, Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James. I'm not so sure they're not.
That's why
top 5.
I'm thinking, I'm like, all right, let me rethink this for a second.
Number 1 is Baltimore.
Okay.
With Peters and Humphrey, Kyle Fuller, Chuck Clark, Marcus Williams.
Okay.
Tampa Bay is 2. Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy Bunning, Winfield Jr., and Mike Edwards. Browns are 3. Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, who I kind of wanted the Titans to take last year. He was my pick.
Sure.
Greedy Williams, John Johnson, and Grant Delpit. Green Bay is 4. Miami is 5. Buffalo is 6. Saints are 7. Then we got to the Chargers at 8. Now tier 2. So that's all of tier 1. Tier 2, minor question marks. Number 9, Rams. Jalen Ramsey, David Long Jr., Troy Hill, Jordan Fuller, Taylor Rapp. If they didn't have Jalen Ramsey, PFF says they'd be closer to tier 5 than tier 2.
Jeez.
So that's how much he means.
Okay.
He has averaged only 477 yards allowed per season since joining the Rams, despite being against the number 1 guy all the time. Wow. I didn't know that number, but that's pretty daggone impressive.
Well, yeah, considering how long he's played in the league.
Exactly. Number 10 is Cincinnati with a woozy Eli Apple, Mike Hilton, Jesse Bates, and Von Bell. That's a good unit.
Yeah.
Solid unit. We know all about it. Number 11 is Tennessee. Christian Fulton, Caleb Farley, Elijah Molden, Kevin Byard, and Monty Hooker are the 5 that are mentioned here. And this is how it's written. The Titans' entire cornerback trio was drafted this decade, which is always a bit of a scary proposition. But given what we've already seen from Christian Fulton and Elijah Molden early on in their careers, it falls closer to exciting than scary for Titans fans. The only real question mark, you know exactly where we're going here, is 2021 first-round pick Caleb Farley, who tore his ACL only 60 snaps into his rookie year. Is Farley the biggest question mark on the team, or is it Henry coming back?
No, I think I don't know if he's the biggest question mark on the team, but he's the biggest question mark on that side of the ball. He's the one thing that I think, and forgive me, listeners of the Zone here, as great as you are, because I've said it many times recently, I feel like he's the X factor. If he is good and is a major contributor or a solid contributor, this defense could be pretty special.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because the other thing we're leaving out of this is Roger McCreary. I think is going to be a very solid prospect. But yeah, I feel like Caleb is the X factor in all that.
The only thing that Roger lacks is speed.
Yep.
He's just not very fast.
But he's battle tested in the best competition there is. I mean, he's faced them all.
Yeah.
In the Southeastern Conference.
I didn't think he was not somebody you draft. I thought he was somebody that went earlier than I expected him to go. But if nobody's going to care if he balls out, that's
right.
Like, you don't overdraft anybody if they ball out.
That's
they
right.
ball out, people forget real quick. They're like, you knew ahead of time, and you made this
same can
move.
be said about Caleb Farley.
It can be.
Yeah.
We'll forget about year one if year two is good.
And it's what people are saying and have been for a while about Jeffrey Simmons. Because when you took him at 19, that was, for lack of a better term, a flyer pick because he had the ACL injury pre-draft workout.
And you could also argue, look, Christian Fulton didn't have a great year one, obviously.
Yeah.
Year two, different story. So I think you want Caleb Farley to be this year's Christian Fulton.
Christian Fulton might end up being one of the stalwarts of this defense.
Oh, I agree. I definitely agree.
He seems to get better every game he goes now.
Farley, you got to stay healthy, and you just hope he's not far behind. That's the thing. Like, is he going to be far behind? We had Beauclair on a couple weeks ago, and he said, look, he thinks, to your point, that McCreary will take more snaps this year than Caleb Farley does. If that's true, is that a bust at that point in time? If the rookie takes the job?
Not necessarily. As far as, people that want to grade draft classes like 5 minutes after they've been drafted.
Yeah, it takes 3 years, right?
Yeah. I mean,
except for Isaiah Wilson.
I still think.
Sorry to stop you dead in your tracks,
wow.
but no, we realized that one faster.
Yeah. But I still think it's a little early. Even if that turned out to be the case of what Beauclair's saying, with McCreary having more snaps. I think it's still early.
Well, I know what Mike has said, what Mike Keith has said about Caleb, like watching him outside the window, he's impressed with him.
Yep.
This team needs him to be good. There's no question about that. You look at it, Molden got a lot of reps last year because he had to, and that now benefits you. Because he's ahead of the curve at a very young age. We already know what Byard is. We don't have to discuss that. Amani Hooker he's finally starting to get his due across the league. He's been in some lists of secondary players that are undervalued in the league and all this kind of stuff.
And mentioned as a candidate for an extension.
Yeah.
Because he's in year 4 of his rookie deal.
And he's increasingly looking like he earns it. Like he's looking you want to do this.
He took a big step forward in year 3.
Yeah. So, I mean, you like those 3 guys and you like Fulton. So it's like, you're right. Like if Farley were to hit, all of a sudden the secondary goes from being a question mark to a strength of the football team.
Yeah.
And not just like the Rams being tier 2 because they have one guy that's all world. It's not that way. It's not like it's just thin and there's one superstar like Byard, which you could argue that's been the case in a few years ago, maybe. Not that way now. I think the biggest thing is just like, we got to see it. Like we've got to see Farley stay healthy and we've got to see him contribute on the level a first rounder would.
Well, and the star of this defense is Jeffrey Simmons. He's the next best thing not named Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Because of the same position or up on the front of that line. And look, the big thing is health. I mean, we saw what they went through last year with 91 different players. And, David Long Jr. is now the guy inside with Zach Cunningham. And David Long Jr. missed 7 games and still had 75 tackles. Finished third on the team. You're returning most of your starters in this. So if the given that health is there and you've got Caleb Farley coming back and contributing, listen, we saw them down the stretch start to put it together. Rushing 4 and covering with 7, which is the way you beat the AFC West they're going to be facing, which is going to be very difficult, and anybody else in modern offenses in the National Football League. They figured out how to do that because of a Danico Autry.
Yeah,
and I'm very excited at the prospect of Bud Dupree, a year plus
Being
remove
healthy.
from the ACL.
Yeah, usually it takes a year. A lot of times to get fully back. The same thing was being said about Klay Thompson this past year. You started to see flashes of it, then you'd see it bail out. Next year will be the tale as to whether or not Klay's on the backside of his career or not.
Right.
But Bud is still very, very young, and him
You're
coming
talking about
back
a group that
fully
went
healthy.
19 quarterback sacks to 43 quarterback sacks in a season.
19 was very low.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness
but
gracious.
43.
43s, yeah.
And that's why I firmly believe if health is the given in this, they break the franchise record for quarterback sacks for the Titans franchise record, which is 55, what the defense that Blaine was on in 2000. I think that's very attainable.
So I look at everything with the Titans through a Colts lens as well, because I just feel like they could end up with the same record with tiebreakers determining it head-to-head, or it's going to be one game apart. They're just very, very close.
That's the Colts.
The Colts are 23rd in this list is why I mentioned that.
Yeah.
They're in serious flaws.
Well, they recently had Kerry Willis
4.
retired a couple weeks ago. And he'd just been playing, I think, 3 years. So, yeah. But this defense has been built correctly from John Robinson. And he started in the trenches and moved his way back through the other 2 tiers of this thing. And, I feel like this is going to be a stingy defense. And it's going to need to be a stingy defense where the offense has some questions.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not, you got to have to score 50 to beat teams.
Yeah, and you can't do that. You need to start locking down what you can lock down.
But the Colts basically they're saying, look, Stephon Gilmore before Gilmore is very uncertain what they had. He was elite when he was healthy, but he's got to be healthy and he's got to be good, or the Colts are pretty thin.
Yeah, because he spent time in Carolina after the Patriots traded him. I don't remember seeing his name splashed. Now Carolina's had some down years.
He had the 9th highest coverage grade in the NFL when he played last year with Carolina. So he was great, but nobody talked about Carolina, so you didn't even talk about it. I actually wonder, I was just like, maybe it didn't go very well. No, it went well for him, but
no Christian McCaffrey to run through that offense.
Yeah, and certainly no quarterback that anybody was going to talk about in a positive sense.
Yep.
They weren't – that defense could have given up a field goal a game and still only been an 8-9 football team.
Now, I'm going to circle back to your original question about whether it's Farley or Derek coming back. Thing we have. Well, okay.
You could throw that in.
The thing with Derek, and I think this is, and Mike Keith mentioned this, and he's right. I've even had people ask me water cooler just in passing, knowing what I do. It's like, hey, how's Derek's rehab going? He's not in any rehab. He rehabbed to get back to the playoff game. He's just been working out and getting, better. So, I mean, he carried it 20 times in the dang playoff game. Now, you can decide whatever you want about who should have had the more carries or whatever. That's in the rearview mirror. I fully anticipate he'll be ready to roll. Look, he looks like he's ready to tear down a wall. So,
maybe I think it's just the last time we saw him, it wasn't a great performance, and he's coming off the injury, and we know the age and how many carries he's had and all of that. So I think that goes into the questioning. The Farley thing, I think that's an obvious question. I mentioned Traylon Burks because,
and listen, I think the Traylon Burks thing will work itself out.
Yeah,
because how soon we forget A.J. Brown pulled a hamstring second or third day of camp and missed everything else, and that's why he really didn't have big production till week 4 in Atlanta when Austin Hooper was a Falcon that day.
So I think Schaefer's got what Beauclair said to us a couple of weeks ago, in case you missed it live. Here was David Beauclair on the situation with Caleb Farley. Hold on. We'll get it here in just a second. When he was out there, and it wasn't, obviously, it's a very small sample size, there were moments where, and I remember us being in a text chain, Ramon and Shafe and me, and we all kind of together said, Farley looks lost. He doesn't look ready. Now, look, that's going to happen to a lot of rookies. I think the problem is he didn't get to play at Virginia Tech the season before that. He's just not played a lot of ball. And I think that's where he may have fallen behind somebody like a Roger McCreary who has played a lot of football, even though it hasn't been NFL-level football. Neither is Farley. And if you're playing Virginia Tech, you're not playing the competition Ohio State is seeing. So I think that, or Auburn is seeing, I should say. So
right.
There's a marked difference, maybe an experience that favors McCreary over Caleb Farley right now.
Yeah, framing it the way you did, I think that makes David Beauclair's point as to why he would have said that. Of course, only time will tell in this thing. I just know that, and Mike's right, what he's seen out of his window, long corner, all the physical traits, he's just got to put it all together.
Yeah, he does.
And I think when he does,
assuming he can,
right?
Then yeah, if he does, yeah, he could be special. And there's one other question mark. The biggest question mark of the whole team to me is the O-line and what they're going to be able to do. Biggest training camp battles at every position. I think it's Sam Monson actually put this piece together for Pro Football Focus last week, and we had Sam on. We didn't talk to him about this, but he even mentioned on the O-line one of his honorable mention alternatives is Radens versus Petit Frere
at right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So. And I think
there's
just
a lot
what
of
is
guys
Radens going to be, I think that's another big time question mark.
And look, there's a lot of those guys have gotten work at multiple spots. But yeah, because you're going to have a new right tackle and you're going to have a new left guard in this thing. I feel like you're set for right now in veteran leadership and where you are at left tackle center. And, of course, Nate Davis at right guard is in his final year of his contract.
Right. And you expect he's going to have a bounce-back year.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly need him to have a bounce-back year.
You do.
When we come back, did Moan win the last time we did this, Shafe?
He did, by one. Yep.
Was this height?
Yeah, this is height.
So you're doing the height now.
We went down to the last question last time.
We're going in the heights with Rhett versus Shafe when we come back. It's Jay Martin and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, so usually this is where Moan starts talking, and then I interrupt about halfway through. Hey, that's pretty much the show. But with home prices on the rise, there's no better time than now to improve the look and value of your home with new windows from Window Nation. They've done over 1 million windows in over 150,000 homes. 96% of those need no follow-up service because they flat out know what they're doing. And the reason we're telling you about this right now, as hot as it is, if you were trying to keep your home cool, you already know it's costing you a lot of money. Why would you spend 30% more on your energy costs than you have to because your windows aren't properly sealed? You've got drafty windows. You're just wasting money. So what if I had an awesome offer for you to get some of those windows taken care of, to save you money from an energy perspective, but also get better looking windows on your home? Here's that offer from Window Nation. 2 free windows with every 2 you buy. Make no down payment. Paid no interest for 24 months. That's just outstanding. Nobody's offering that. 2 free windows every 2 you buy. No down payment, no payments, no interest for 2 full years. It's going to save you thousands. It's going to save you energy costs. It's also going to be a value add to your home. So I want you to call Window Nation today at 866-90-NATION. Tell them you heard us talking about it here on J. Martin and Ramon. 866-90-NATION. I want you to save money, or visit them online at windownation.com.
Motley Crue and Def Leppard bring their stadium tour to Nissan Stadium on June 30th with special guests Poison and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Let's go back to the 80s, everyone. Listen to 3HL for your chance to win this week on 104.5 The Zone.
Man, that show is MTV 1988 right there.
Yes, sir.
Same old situation and Dr. Feelgood
Headbangers Ball.
with Let's Get Rocked and Make Love Like a Man.
Where's Martha Quinn when I need her?
Ronda Rousey going to show up for Joan Jett?
No. She doesn't even want to show up to work or
That's right.
go to the concert.
That's right. That's what we were looking for. Slander. All right, it's time to go in the Heights. I got an interesting crop here.
Crop.
Was that funny?
It's just funny that you're calling them a crop.
They are human beings.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a fair point. Paula Abdul.
Oh. Red is the visitor, so he can start.
Bonus points if you can tell me the height of MC Cool Cat from the Opposites Attract video. I'm just kidding.
27.5 inches.
That was a great video.
It was a great video.
Paula Abdul is 5'4".
5'3".
She's 5 feet.
I got that one.
Price is Right rules.
Yeah, that's right. We don't play the. It's not. You can go over. It's closest.
Yeah, closest.
We said
you
it
can
that
over.
it's not just $1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amy Adams.
Oh, okay.
Amy Adams.
Strong. No.
No, wait. That changes it.
No.
Wait, what?
I just realized what I did there. I was like, wait a second. I could also threw that in.
Amy Adams is 5'5".
That's what I was going to guess. I'm going to go 5'6".
Oh, should have gone the other way. 5'3.5".
Thought about it, didn't. Yep.
5'3.5".
50-50 on that.
I'll stay with the Adams. Is Kay Adams. Good Morning Football.
Hey,
and
Kay Adams.
People.
She's 5'3".
5'2".
She's 5 7/8. Which I don't. I can't believe that's actually
now.
there.
See, that's quite unfair because I've actually met Kay Adams.
Yeah, she's short.
So I knew she was short.
Sticking in the Adams is Brian Adams.
Brian Adams, Canadian rock star. Brian Adams is 5'9".
5'8".
Brian Adams cuts like a knife at 5'8".
Yay! All right.
You are good at this.
3-1.
Andre Agassi.
Let's see. Doesn't have the 80s hair anymore.
Big fan of Equimini and Stankonia. But that's a different Andre.
The hair added 2 to 3 inches.
Yeah.
Yes. Andre Agassi is 5'8".
5'7".
5'10" 3/4".
He's a little taller than I thought.
Tennis players, man.
Yeah.
He looked short because he was around like Becker and
That's true.
Sampras.
Yeah, and
other
Sampras was, I
guys.
think, over 6 feet.
And I think when he lost the hair, he started to look kind of like an old man.
Yeah.
Even though he was an old man that could.
But I think with the mullet, he was
Starving
over
180 miles an hour.
But with the mullet, he was over 6 feet.
That's right. That's the old Fletch gig right there.
That's right.
I almost actually did that with Eric Andre. I was going to pick Eric Andre and be like, with the Afro 6'9".
That's right.
Uzo Aduba.
Uzo
Orange is the New Black.
Aduba.
And I wasn't sure if you knew who that was or not.
I don't.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Once you
Well, I have a
mentioned
bonus
Orange
one
is the New
anyway.
Black.
So 5'3" is her. Jason Alexander.
Okay.
Jason Alexander is 5'4".
5'7".
He's 5'4.5".
Ooh, we are tied up.
Marcus Allen. The running back nobody talks about when you talk about great running backs, and then you realize just how great he was.
When you go back and look at his numbers,
It's insane.
Marcus Allen is 6'1.5".
5'10".
He's 6'1 7/8".
Oh, man.
You almost
Bam.
nailed that one with a
Yeah.
fraction.
Wow. Red is in the lead.
Tim Allen. Another
Two-time
underrated running
Tim.
back.
You going to give us Mr. Wilson next?
Yeah. Wilson was his
no.
first. Well, actually, it was both names. What is Wilson?
I think it was Wilson.
5'9".
5'8".
5'10.5".
Dang it. I thought about it and I didn't.
What's the score?
It's 5-3 Red.
All right. Stephen Amell.
Green Lantern, right?
Arrow.
Arrow? Okay. Fringe character. I don't know.
Performed at SummerSlam.
Yes.
5'7".
5'8".
He's 6 3/4.
Calling a thought.
John Moxley, a.k.a. Dean Ambrose.
Oh, okay.
John Moxley, 5'10".
6 feet.
He's also 6 3/4.
Hey.
Him and Amell are exactly the same
Well,
height.
now we need a tiebreaker.
Okay.
Now we need a tiebreaker. Moxley is, he's
not a small dude. No.
No.
Christina Applegate.
Oh, here we go.
Christina Applegate is 5'5".
5'6".
She's 5'5".
Oh, if you're hey, if you're gonna lose, that's how you lose.
You lose on somebody nailing it right there.
I'm fine with that.
Dart right in the
That was
bullseye.
well done.
Kelly Bundy for the win.
Well done.
Christina Applegate's had a nice career.
Yes.
She's popped up in other good stuff through the years. Up All Night was a really good TV series that NBC didn't know how to produce, didn't know how to handle right.
The last thing she's been in on the streaming on Netflix, what is that? You're Dead to Me?
Oh, yeah.
That's a great series.
Yeah, I haven't actually watched that. I've heard
she's
good
really
stuff
good
about
in
it.
that.
So, wow, 5'5", knocked it right out.
Look, if you're gonna lose, that's the way to go.
Somebody
The
going
season's
bullseye on it, right.
That's right. You can't be upset with that.
Teresa Walker, the Associated Press, can't be upset with her either. We'll talk everything under the sun with her in about 25 minutes after the headlines. It's Jay Martin Ramon here on 104.5 The Zone.
It is 9:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. The Colorado Avalanche defeated the Lightning 2-1 in Tampa Bay last night to capture the Stanley Cup. It is their third title in franchise history. Cole Makar won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. Ole Miss scored twice on wild pitches in a 3-run eighth inning as the Rebels won their first national baseball title, sweeping Oklahoma in the Men's College World Series Finals with a 4-2 victory Sunday. And late last night, Chase Elliott won the Ally 400 at Nashville Superspeedway. And that was the call courtesy of NBC Sports. The race was delayed twice due to weather for Elliott. It is his second victory of the season. Major League Baseball, the Dodgers defeated the Braves 5-3 in 11 innings. For all foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Fourth hour, hashtag fastest 4 hours in radio is upon you, upon us. Blessed to bring it to you courtesy of All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville.
I'm surprised Schaefer got that cut and the update ready for in time for the update.
Yeah,
I mean Chase Elliott just finished the race.
The race literally ended 3 minutes ago. We were rolling on that.
We're doing that bit all week.
Yeah.
That bit ain't going anywhere. We might still be doing that bit next year when they do the race again.
And do me a favor, it's not 2 weather delays. Add to it every time you do it. It's like after 87 weather delays.
I should definitely do that.
When did the race actually end?
I think it was a little after 11 o'clock, if I'm timing it right, because I was knowing I had to get up with you guys. I'm like, I'm out. You know?
Were we running it?
No.
Okay. Back in the day, I remember a couple of long races when I was working the boards.
Yep.
And I was just like, hey, I mean, this is easy money.
Oh, one of my first gigs in the business was board hopping MRN racing.
It was my first. Mm-hmm. That and running Dan Patrick, which involved hitting a zone thing like twice an hour for 2 hours.
That's right.
Brad just wanted me on payroll, man.
That's right.
You want to make sure he kept me in the building.
There you go.
Biggest mistake he ever made.
I know I'm paying for it every day.
You're going to keep paying for it, partner.
Believe you, Jason Martin.
The Lightning dynasty came to an end. Avs win 2-1. There's your hockey update.
Well, did the dynasty end or just that streak end? Because if
No,
they
it's
won
just
next
transferred
year,
north.
It's just streak.
It's just transferred north to Nashville Super Speedway. What are you talking
the
about?
Lightning, yes. That's right. I got it. I got you. I was following you.
You're picking up what I'm putting down.
That's the thing. I saw the radar from Leland Stadium this morning about where all the rain was in Middle Tennessee. Well, if you were north of Nashville in Middle Tennessee, nope.
You do not win the prize, sir.
You were in Cheatham or Sumner or any of those? Nah.
You were in the counties of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe.
On the list of athletes that are just like you hear about them and you just want to run the other way, Kyrie Irving might be the top of that list.
I would agree with that.
Oof.
I know that story is out there. I spent a lot of time having to talk about that on Saturday night on Fox. And
I feel like the Brooklyn Nets are like the Cleveland Browns of the NBA with the way their offseason is now going.
This is the second time that they have just gone and spent a ton of money on free agents or brought in guys that were going to win them a championship and not won with them. They grabbed Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett famously didn't win. Now it's KD and Kyrie's got a list of teams where he'll go to if there's no deal with the Nets. Adrian Wojnarowski's out here using the word acrimonious. It's like, cool story, bro. Just say bitter. Just say it's become angry.
Acrimonious.
Like, I don't need your acrimony, Adrian Wojnarowski. But Kyrie mentioned the Lakers as one of these teams. It's like, really, dude? You're going to go back and play with LeBron after the way it ended the last time? I feel like Kyrie Irving's list is longer than the amount of teams that actually want Kyrie Irving. I think we've come to that point. Like, we talk about Baker Mayfield a lot. We can talk about Kyrie Irving, too. He's got top 5 talent, but at some point, man, you're not taking her home if she has an STD. I don't care how hot she is. I know that's kind of a crass way to say it.
That is quite the analogy.
She might be a 10, and you might be dead sober and she's a 10. But if the disease is still there, you're probably not taking her home. Again, like the hot crazy scale, sometimes you cannot be hot enough to deal with the crazy.
Yeah, because nobody wants to deal with going to the clinic.
Exactly. And that's how you feel if you get Kyrie Irving on your team. You're going to the clinic.
Oof.
Boston's been burning for years because of that.
But yeah, they're that's quite the rock and the hard place right there that they're in.
And then KD, who went there specifically because Kyrie went there.
Right. That's the whole other part of this.
And now they're trying to say, well, they're not really as close as was reported. I'm like, he went there because they went there together. They were playing as friends.
Yeah, and now it's like the guy that commits to a certain college that he gets accepted to because his girlfriend's going there, and then they break up and he's miserable, and so.
Is anyone really a friend of KD, though? Because that just seems highly transactional.
Yeah. I think, there's an expiration date to friendships with Kevin Durant.
I don't think there's really any commitment with KD. I think that's just a lot of dating.
But again, he has this time dated a girl who, when she goes to the doctor, she's going to find out she has a disease or two. That's the problem here. Yeah, you missed that, Shafe. You were
on the phone,
otherwise occupied.
Wow.
But I see those stories and I'm just like, my gosh.
Wow.
He's going to be the one that brings the Lakers back? I highly doubt it.
I just want the Lakers to sign everybody that's going to make their chemistry even worse.
Yeah,
everybody.
Exactly right. Where's James Harden? Can we get him out there?
I grew up being a big-time Lakers fan, and now I'm out to the point that I'm just like, just destroy it all. Watch it burn.
Again, like I said last week, you know it's bad because of how many projects are out there to talk about how great they used to be. They're trying to remind you of the glory years because they've been so bad so often in recent years, outside, obviously, of the bubble year when they won the championship. And then I look up on the screen, it's just like, what's going on in Mississippi with baseball? Ole Miss has never won a championship in anything, but they won the College World Series.
And they were the last team to get into the big dance.
Right, and Mississippi State won it last year.
Yeah.
What's happening here? What's
I don't
going on
know.
in the state of Mississippi?
I don't know. Something's in the water.
I mean, they came back and won. They were showing out. The fans were showing out in Omaha. Ole Miss wins it this year. Mississippi State wins it last year.
And they won in a sweep. They swept Oklahoma.
First time since the early 2000s where a state has won in back-to-back where it was Rice and Texas.
And you had the possibility of winning baseball and softball with Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Because the softball team, what were they, 70-4?
This is Ole Miss's first national
They were
championship.
the They were the 96 Bulls. Is that what you're saying?
No, they were the 73-win Warriors.
Good.
But
gracious.
better. I'm serious. I think they were like 70-4.
Wow.
Something just absurd like that. See, in Oklahoma, they win. Yeah.
Oklahoma only lost 4 games.
Yeah. Wasn't it like 70-4?
Yeah, something. I don't know if 70's a little high, but it was like 59 or 61-4 or something like that. Yeah, they only lost 4 games the entire season.
I mean, they win stuff at Oklahoma. Texas just wins recruits.
They win the offseason.
They're the Browns.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
They are summertime champions. Now, can Arch lead them somewhere? Maybe.
I'm going to enjoy it when they come into the SEC and then none of the 3 succeed at the level they want to in football. That's going to be fun.
None of the 3?
Oklahoma. I added A&M already in there.
Yeah.
So you've got those 3 teams that all hate each other. That'll be fun. Just beat the hell out of each other.
And that's probably what will happen.
Yeah, we can only hope.
Look, they're going to be 3 lost teams.
That's right.
Oklahoma and the SEC. Look, I think Oklahoma's certainly better suited for it because Oklahoma's a better program.
Far and away.
Like, not even close.
Since I don't know an actual Texas A&M fan because I don't think they exist. But Oklahoma, in terms of those three programs, Oklahoma far and away.
Texas A&M fans are transactional, Shay.
You know what? They're Kyrie Irving. That's right. That's right.
They're
Wow.
They're transactional.
That's right.
I know a few, but
right.
not many.
So you're saying A&M is agricultural and make-believe? Is that what you're saying?
What does A&M stand for, guys?
I can't use the first word that popped into my head. For the A.
Is it a 3-letter word?
With holes at the end.
That's where I thought you were going.
What do you mean you can't say that? Have you not paid attention to this show for the last 2 years?
I paid attention at 6:12 this morning. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I'm glad I didn't say what I was going to say to Chris Plank in a second hour because
really
we were
glad you didn't
we were talking about Arch, and I said Quinn Ewers is the most interesting part about that to me. Texas is basically like, Quinn, man, we love you, but that ass though.
Not great, Bob.
Literally, make the shirt. Somebody make the shirt. Quinn, we love you, but that arch though.
That arch though.
That's waiting to be printed.
It's right there, man.
That's waiting to be printed.
These ideas are gold. I already said North Carolina need to make that shirt where it just says retired on it, and the I becomes a K because they retired Coach K with a loss in the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
That's the biggest rivalry ever in college basketball.
Yep.
Maybe arguably in all of college sports, unless you want to add Michigan, Ohio State to that list. You do that, you'd sell that shirt out for the next 5 decades.
Mm-hmm.
It could be sold right now on Franklin Street, and it would not be available. You couldn't get it in the student shop. It would be gone all the time. I would create it and sell it here, and people would sell me out just to get it mailed to them down there. That's how much they hate Duke. 615-737-1045 is the telephone number. Teresa Walker, who is she still at the track? Because we're still like 15 laps left in the race.
I think that's how we'll lead off the interview.
She's shaking everything off of her umbrella to put it in her car.
Oof.
We'll talk to her about that. We'll talk to her about Kennedy Chandler still managing to land with the Grizz. There's just a lot to go into with Teresa, as there always is. That's next. It's Jay Mart and Rhett Moan here on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back. It's J Mart and Ramon with Ramon Foster out this week. Rhett Bryan, Titans Radio, is in. You know, luckily, there's a caution that just came out at the Ally 400, which means Teresa Walker was able to step away from the track long enough to chat with us. The Queen is on the line. Teresa, we appreciate it. I know it's a busy, busy morning for you with the Arco 400, only about halfway in.
Arco.
Ally 400, whatever. They changed the names. This race went on so long. Teresa, you there?
I am. I'm just trying to wake back up because, guys, I mean, it's like I thought I was covering a race, and it ended up becoming literally a marathon yet again. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have left that track in the wee dark of the night just because races have been delayed by rain. I mean, I remember one year when it was just the Busch race, and it rained, and it rained, and it rained. I think we finished up out there around 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And it's like, you know, I was just joking with Schaefer. It's like you schedule a race here in the Nashville area. I don't care how dry it's been, it's going to rain. You know, it's almost like, you know, forget your rain dances, just schedule a race. And, I mean, it reminds me of how much I love the NFL because, guys, it took nearly 7 hours for Chase Elliott to win this race yesterday. I mean, I could have knitted an Afghan that covered the state in the time that they sat on the, you know, over on pit row trying to wait out the weather. I'm just saying.
Teresa, I said what I said this morning, knowing you were going to be on with us. It's like Titans and Dolphins week 1 of 2018, Mike Vrabel's first job as head coach, first game. And that lightning delays down there at Hard Rock. Yeah, that's what I thought about. And I saw your messages and tweets and filings from there, and I just thought, I'm like, good gracious.
Did you hear me earlier, Teresa, use the Afghan term? Like I was saying that you kind of blanket the state. I was like, basically, you're an Afghan over the state in the way that you cover sports. And then you use an Afghan. I'm like, did you hear me say that, or did we just both channel the same descriptor here?
We both channeled the same descriptor. And I will say this, though, Rhett, the difference is while the first stoppage in the race yesterday was for lightning around the track, we actually did get rain yesterday.
Yeah, buckets of it.
Unlike the Dolphins, you know, which talk about just a disaster, that rain just came on, and, I mean, it just seemed like it was going forever. I think there were some leaks coming through the media center that or people were just tracking in some of the water because it was a lake out there near the garage area. And here's one difference. You know, unfortunately, when Chase Elliott did win, well, let's just say that he expressed his love for the fairgrounds track so much that, you know, some of the people who actually do work at the super speedway may have been a little ticked. I mean, you invite somebody over for dinner, you feed them a good meal, they leave with a bottle of wine, and as they're leaving the house, they're like, you know whose house I really like? They're over there.
Yeah, because Timmy's mom makes stovetop stuffing across the street.
And has Sunny D.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed your quotes. The first thing I saw this morning is your quotes from Chase Elliott, and I thought, wow, before I take this out of context, and I'm so glad you're on with us this morning to kind of read the room in that. So it was as kind of uncomfortable as it seemed in the quotes you were posting.
Well, let's put it this way. All us reporters in the media center, we loved it because, you know, that's something different.
Oh, a little gaslight, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We loved it. He was confident in saying what he was saying. And then as we were leaving, you could tell that the people who were working, you know, who worked there and were at the back of the room, maybe weren't as excited by those comments.
I imagine not.
Yeah, and then heard that he was even stronger outside. You know, I was busy taking quotes for, you know, Jenna Fryers, our motorsports writer, and she was the one who was writing up the race story, and I was feeding quotes to her, pulling them off TV. Well, while I was doing some of that, he was outside talking to reporters, and apparently was even stronger with his comments. And it's more that he loves the fairgrounds track. You know, the history of that track. I mean, guys, they started racing, you know, on that site in 1904, okay? And it's, you know, if you're staying at a hotel there in, you know, downtown Nashville, Lower Broad, the Gulch, you name it, you're there in 5 minutes. And his big point was that, the thing is NASCAR has all these tracks that are 30 to 45, almost an hour outside of town. The Homestead, that's almost an hour south of Miami thanks to traffic, right? Atlanta, they're 30 minutes outside of Atlanta, probably an hour on most days given traffic. And he said, and here, they call it the Nashville Super Speedway, but those of us who know, and even then there's the Dateline of Lebanon, and I kind of take issue with that still because you can see the Gladeville water tower from the media center on most days. So it's like, it's a haul out there. And that was his point. You've got this great track at the fairgrounds, loads of history, short track, fun racing. And, oh, yeah, you're right in the heart of a city where you can kind of build on that buzz. I think that's where he was going with that. But, again, he just won the big trophy, and it is a very big trophy they give out. It takes two people to carry that thing. And, there he is just kind of, dissing the dinner that he just finished eating. So, it's going to be very interesting, when he's the defending champ next time around and comes back to Nashville maybe to help promote the race. So, but yeah, I was perking up, taking notes and tweeting, and I wasn't the only one, I'm sure. But the folks of the Super Speedway folks who worked really hard to put on a great race, the traffic flow was far different from last year. It actually worked this year. It took me 2 minutes to get off of 840 to the credential trailer and get my stuff and get parked. And I just saw the traffic flowing incredibly well. And they had, the brothers Osborne playing there before the race. I mean, it was, thrills everywhere. They great presentation of the race, but then you have the weather delays, nearly 7 hours for the race, and then Chase Elliott. So yeah, it was a day.
Yeah. So you laid it out really well right there, Teresa. Is Chase Elliott right with what he's saying?
Well, he has a great case because look at what he says. If you're televising the race from the fairgrounds, you've got shots of Nashville right in, you've either got Geodis Park, depending on what view you show. You've got downtown. You've got, a city that has just exploded like mushrooms in a pigsty the last few. Buildings are going up left and right. I mean, they're overnight. You see different buildings going up. We're Crane City. Forget its city. It's Crane City. So you've got that. The shots at the Super Speedway, there was a really great sunset when when the rain was finally ending and they were getting back to racing or hoping to get back to racing, drying off the track. But it's farmland and the warehouses that have been built behind what used to be, once upon a time there were plans for a dirt track back there and a
drag strip.
Racing
Yeah.
strip. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's businesses because, they wanted to make some money since the Super Speedway was shut down for so many years. So it's, you get a different vibe, and that's the thing. I think that's what he was talking about. You get that energy. And how different is the Super Speedway oval from Dover's, concrete track, right? And that's the other place that Chase Elliott has won this year is on concrete at Dover. So, Dover came down here originally and made a track that was very similar to what they already had. It was just here in the Nashville area. But you go over to the fairgrounds and, the giants of NASCAR raced on that track back in the day before Nashville lost the Winston Cup, then top level of racing for the NASCAR circuit. And, everybody was there. Everybody won there. And you go out to the Super Speedway and, they've now had 2 top-level NASCAR races. That's it. So, that's, if you're talking history, if you're talking surroundings, it's tough not to, Chase Elliott has a great argument.
Well, and his father, you mentioned it. His father and all the greats raced at Nashville at the fairgrounds and on that 5/8 mile track. It was an annual thing. That was, for a long time, that was the argument of the biggest sports mistake in Nashville sports history is letting NASCAR get out of here because it was, I think the Firecracker 400 was right around 4th of July, and it was Richard Petty, Cale Yarborough, Dale Earnhardt Sr., all of them. Anybody who's anybody was in it.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. Back in the day when NASCAR absolutely ruled the sports scene, they were up there with the NFL, in the NBA. Probably in much of the South, they were ahead of the NBA. So, it was a thing, and Nashville is a city. And that's the thing. Chase Elliott said, Nashville's a place that you want to be. It's a cool city. That's one of the reasons he was so happy winning last night, even if it is out at the Super Speedway, is because it's Nashville. So, it's a cool place. They give a great trophy with that, that guitar and things like that. So it's like, it's just a great combination. And, and that's the thing. That's why we think all signs point toward them eventually getting something going at the Fairgrounds track to tap into the market, the views, just the history of that track. Something's coming. They're still working on it, but, that's coming. Now that they've got Geodis Park done, that's coming with the track. And shoot, Chase Elliott was talking even about that. It's like, well, now they've got everything figured out, how to get, deal with traffic, getting fans in and out thanks to the soccer stadium. So it's almost like they've lit the pathway for how they can do things in that footprint over at the Fairgrounds.
Teresa Walker of the Associated Press with us here on J Mart and Ramon. We haven't talked to you since we now know for sure the World Cup's not going to be here. Now that it's finalized, now we know what's going down. What are kind of your thoughts in retrospect? Have you had time to kind of go back and piece together where the bid fell short?
Well, it's simple. It's just that when the Titans went from renovating to, we've got to get a new stadium because of the cost to them, and the total cost of that project, that's when it happened. FIFA had dealt with, let's say confident projections on when stadiums would be done for South Africa's bid in 2010. That didn't quite turn out. And in 2014, so that they just didn't, there were plenty enough other cities bidding with no problems, no questions, no concerns about renovations or projects, construction zones at stadiums. That just made it easy enough to drop Nashville. And as Butch Spiriton said, they had to spend 2 years selling Nashville on Zoom. Nashville, you can do some things on Zoom, but you cannot experience the true Nashville on Zoom. And even though they had that site visit last year, guys, it was in and out. They were here for a few hours, and it was like, okay, let's giddy up and go to the next one. It was tough to get that feel. You can show them the pictures, the video from the 2019 NFL draft here, and, just how big everything was and how it just dominated downtown and across the river. But it all came down to the stadium. And, I was probably the one who was maybe the most confident Nashville would get it. But that, again, the change in the stadium plans is the one thing that made the biggest difference.
Kennedy Chandler ends up a Grizz. It happens kind of in an odd way. He goes a lot later than some people had thought, even to where Michael DeCourcy of Sporting News came on with us Friday and said he made a mistake in leaving. He misread the room. He misread the hype, and he should have come back to school. But he ends up with the Grizz. How likable does that just make this team going forward? They were already starting to build obvious momentum because they have a superstar and a young core of guys, and they were very, very kind of feisty and hungry in the playoffs. But now you add a home state product that people like a lot to that mixture. That seems to be a big-time win for the Grizz.
Oh, big time. A Memphis guy. I mean, that's the thing. Memphis Tiger fans and Penny Hardaway were pretty stunned when he turned them down to go across the state to Knoxville and Rick Barnes in Tennessee, and now he's back in Memphis with the Grizzlies. Guys, I don't know if you've seen some of the videos, but, John Morant was working out with Kennedy Chandler a couple of years ago, okay, when he was still in high school. So they've got chemistry. They've been on the court already together. And it was Ja who was calling and helping break the news that he was coming to the Grizzlies. So it's like, one, you add to the great chemistry that is going on with that Memphis locker room, guys. Let's not forget, they make it to the Western semifinals and lose in 6 games with Ja missing 3 of those because of a bone bruise in his knee. And that's a roster that didn't get a point from a player 30 years or older, okay? And now they've got some tweaks coming. I'm expecting Kyle Anderson to hit free agency and probably not come back with the pieces they added in the draft. But, guys, I'm not sure if Memphis should probably go down this road, if it's possible. But, if Kevin Durant, there's already odds out that, if he were to leave the Nets and want to trade, well, the Memphis Grizzlies have the second best odds. I think it's 4-1 as potentially landing Kevin Durant. And if I'm him, I'm looking at this roster thinking, yeah, I can go down there and win a title with these guys. So, that's the thing. It's suddenly a fun room and already a great room, great chemistry. Now you add Kennedy Chandler to it. It only gets better, and you add another young player. So I'm curious to see how this goes and how this continues growing moving forward.
Vols baseball. Last time we talked about it, we all thought, hey, man, they should go and win. They didn't. Something's going right for baseball in the state of Mississippi, with Mississippi State winning last year and now Ole Miss winning its first championship in anything outside of dung tossing, handling business yesterday against Oklahoma. What do you think in totality for the Tennessee Vols season? It was a great regular season, but when it ends the way that it does, how do you view it?
If I'm the Vols and that program, I'm kicking myself because there was a series where they really handled Ole Miss well during the season, and now you look and they're the champs. You got to be thinking, guys, that coulda, shoulda been us. And now the challenge is making it, woulda, and grabbing the title next year in Omaha. So, sometimes you got to have a little pain to help you get across the threshold. Well, Tennessee Vols not only didn't make it to Omaha, and now they see a team that, that they handled in the regular season, take it home in 2 games against a future SEC opponent. If I'm the Vols, I'm thinking destination Omaha next year. We want some hardware.
Look, I know you got to get back to the track. Who's in the lead right now? Who's in the lead in the LI 400 right now? I think we got about 120 laps left, but before the last caution,
I'll say this. I'm in the lead because I'm trying to get out of there as fast as humanly possible to get started on my vacation.
Good for you. Get some downtime. Because I know we've got training camp and everything else in the world you cover in the state of Tennessee headed out for you. Good grief.
Oh, there it is. Hey, the race is back on. Teresa, get back to work. We actually got through an entire conversation without talking about the Titans, but that won't happen the next time, Teresa. I promise that. Enjoy your vacation.
Thanks, guys. And, yeah, I can barely hear you over the cars.
You like that? You like that Ole Miss comment? Did you? I looked at you and everything was fine, and then your head gradually started to fall. I'm like, wait, I've struck a chord with that one.
Yes, you have.
615-737-1045. Yeah, we'll keep you updated on the race.
It's never not funny.
And
I don't know what it is.
Dude, I'll tell you what. Coach Mack has his lines, but I put this one in our yearbook page on our Slack channel. Exploded like mushrooms in a pigsty.
Yeah.
I have never heard that before.
That one got me. That one got me.
Look, she's from Maryville. She knows what she's talking about.
She does.
You mean Maryville?
Maryville.
No, it's Maryville up there.
In Maury County? In Santa Fe?
Yeah.
You see how many wrong things I can say in one sentence?
Are you trying to get us murdered before we get off the air at 10?
Lafayette.
Mushrooms in a pigsty. That's another thing Ole Miss could probably win at. We'll be back. It's J Mart and Rhett Moan here on 104.5 The Zone.
This dude just did this.
Welcome back. J. Martin Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Interesting piece at the 33rd team. What happened to every number one quarterback recruit since 2000? Looking at Arch Manning, I think it's just funny some of the names that were number one quarterback recruits. 2000, Brock Berlin at Florida.
Wow.
2001, he was behind Rex Grossman on the depth chart. Got a chance to start in the 2002 Orange Bowl when Grossman was benched for violating curfew. How very Florida of them. 2001, transferred to Miami, 19-5 as starting quarterback. Undrafted, signed with Miami, started 2 NFL games. 2001, Brody Croyle, who was at Alabama, who his season ended against Western Carolina while they were up 35-7 because they still had him in the game. That was Mike Shula's. That was good stuff by Mike Shula getting this guy hurt. The Croyles are a famous family at the University of Alabama. He went to the Chiefs in the 3rd round of the 06 draft.
That's right.
Injured all the time, never stayed on the field, signed with the Cardinals later, retired shortly after. 2002, top recruit was VY. We kind of know how that went.
We do.
Went very well at Texas.
Yep.
And there was a moment, a flash there in the NFL where it looked like it could go well. Just didn't stay there.
Yep.
But he was Offensive Rookie of the Year.
He sure was.
2-time Pro Bowler.
Yep.
2003, Kyle Wright at Miami.
I don't even remember Kyle Wright.
He was not drafted. He was supposed to be the next Jim Kelly, Vinny Testaverde, and Bernie Kosar. Had 38 touchdowns, 31 interceptions at Miami. Had a short stint with the Vikings and the Niners. Never appeared in an actual game.
Yeah, I don't. Like I said, that one didn't ring a bell.
This name, I remember this name. 2004, Rhett Bomar.
Oh yes,
at OU.
Yes.
Became a starter at Oklahoma in the 2nd game of the 05 season. Dismissed from the team by Bob Stoops after paid for work that he did not complete at a car dealership.
That's correct.
I remember that one very well.
Yep.
Violation of the rules. Transferred to Sam Houston State, was drafted in the 5th round by the Giants. Never got up the depth chart. He's the offensive coordinator at Alif Taylor High School in Houston.
Now, yeah, he never got past what's his name, Jared Lorenzen, who was also a reserve quarterback for the Giants. He never got past him in that window of time, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's right. 2005, Mark Sanchez.
Yep.
We know kind of what happened with Sanchez.
Yep.
Went pretty well at SC. Butt fumble.
Played in 2 AFC championship games. And then
the
butt
Patriots
fumble.
once and the butt fumble.
That's right.
Matthew Stafford, it's gone all right for him. 2006.
As of very recently, yes.
2007, not as good for Jimmy Clausen.
Nope.
Pretty good at Notre Dame. Not as great in terms of his NFL career, though. He had 3 starts in 2010 for the Panthers, was benched, then they selected Cam Newton.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was a wrap for him.
Yep.
Appeared with the Bears and Ravens. 2008, didn't go as great for Terrell Pryor either. Went great at Ohio State, won the Big Ten championship twice. Then it was suspensions and all of this, selected by the Raiders. There was the famous put him in a trash can line when he was in Cleveland for a time. He played for a lot of teams, though.
And moved to wide receiver.
That's right. He was Raiders, converted full-time to wide receiver with the Browns, Redskins, Jets, Bills, and Jags.
Yeah.
5 different teams he played receiver for. 2009, could care less about this guy's work. Matt Barkley. Pretty good at SC. Not that much in the NFL.
He's still hanging around as a backup, though, right?
Yeah. He's currently with the Bills.
Yeah. That's a pretty good spot to be.
2010, Phillip Sims at Alabama. Sat out in 2010 as a true freshman redshirt. In 11, he was a backup to A.J. McCarron. Transferred to Virginia, then later to Winston-Salem State.
Okay.
That's
why I don't
in
remember
15,
him.
That's right. Signed a contract with the Cardinals. Signed contracts with the Seahawks and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. In the CFL, he's now a high school football coach in Virginia. Jeff Driscoll at Florida, who transferred to Louisiana Tech for his final year in 2015. Got picked with the 863rd pick of the MLB draft in 2013.
Okay.
By the Boston Red Sox, but kept playing football, drafted by the Niners in the 6th round in 2016. 1-8 starter career in the NFL. Now has converted to tight end with the Texans.
And now is going to be worked back at quarterback, according to what I read out of Houston. So, yeah.
Things are going great in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk more about Houston tomorrow, I think, with what Tony Busby is putting out there. Plus, we'll find out what's happening with Deshaun Watson. 2012 was Jameis. We kind of know how that's gone.
Yep.
Pretty well overall.
It's a decent career.
Yeah. 2013, Max Brown at USC. Okay. Cool story there. Ended up transferring to Pittsburgh when he got beat out by Sam Darnold. Then he lost that job to Ben DiNucci.
Yeah.
He's now in broadcasting. Kyle Allen, Texas A&M 2014. Transferred to Houston in 16. Then signed with the Panthers as an undrafted free agent in 18. Started 1 game, 12 games in 2019 with Cam Newton hurt. Traded to Washington in 2020. Had an ankle injury that was serious. Now he's with the Texans.
Yes, he is.
I didn't even know that.
With Jeff Driscoll.
Did not even know that. So that's through 2014. Josh Rosen in 2015 went pretty good at UCLA. Didn't work out in the pros.
Not at all.
Went to a bad situation, and it never got better.
Well, he's been through, 3 different stops now?
That's right.
Arizona, then Miami.
That's right. 2016, Shea Patterson. Ole Miss, not Michigan.
Right.
Ole Miss transferred to Michigan. Undrafted, signed with the Chiefs, now a quarterback in the USFL for the New Orleans
But
Breakers.
was released several weeks ago before they ever finished their season. So
in the USFL?
Yeah.
Released by the USFL.
Jeff Fisher cut him.
So we got more. We'll do those tomorrow. We'll see whether or not Deshaun's thing actually starts or whether or not Chris Plank turns out to be right about that. Buck Rising is out. Lucas Panzica and Will Bowling coming up for the next 3 hours.
NASCAR-themed Young Guns show.
And they might have results from the race. I don't imagine it gets done during that time frame because there's still over half the race to go, but they'll get you set up sometime around 3HL. We'll find out who won that race, barring weather. For Rhett Bryan and Jonathan Schaefer, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 6. Enjoy your Monday, folks.